Chapter 507. Senior, can't you try stabbing your own heart with a sword? And Lin hesitated momentarily before asking. The dragon tribe, male, shook his head. Although I want to die, my Tao doesn't allow me to die, so I can't do it to myself. No matter what method I use to commit suicide, there will always be an extremely mysterious power of Tao stopping me. Tao could stop someone from committing suicide? This was the first time Lin had heard of something like this. Pardon me for asking, but what Tao do you cultivate, Senior? Lin asked curiously. I cultivate the Tao of indestructibility. The dragon tribe, male, didn't hide anything as he replied calmly. Lin, a being who cultivated the Tao of indestructibility, was begging someone to grant him death? What was wrong with this world if he wanted to die so badly? Why did he choose the Tao of indestructibility in the first place? As if reading Lin's mind, the dragon tribe male heaved a faint sigh. Most return to void stage cultivators have a lifespan of 1,000,000 years, but I've already lived for several million years. No, this doesn't even include the time I've spent here using the time obliteration formation to kill myself. If I were to include this period of time, then it would be a terrifying amount of time. The dragon tribe male shuddered involuntarily. My cultivation base hasn't increased in the slightest. Living here is no different from dying. No, there's a difference. Living here is even more painful than dying. There's nothing I can do. There's no change at all. It's deathly silent. I don't even know what to do here. I recognize every tiny particle here and have even given them a name. I just stand here like an idiot. 1 year, 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years, 10,000 years, 100,000 years, 1,000,000 years, 10,000,000 years, 100,000,000 years. Ha! This is an eternal cage. Tears streamed down the dragon tribe male's face as he spoke. And Lin finally felt a hint of sympathy for this man upon hearing this. Then, Senior, if I kill you, you won't retaliate? And Lin asked. No. The dragon tribe male shook his head with a serious expression. After a moment, he added, however, each of you can only attack once. Although I'm not afraid of death, I'm afraid of pain. And Lin, what an unreasonable request. And Lin relayed the dragon tribe male's request to Lu Chu and the others, and everyone fell silent again. I can only attack once? In that case, each of us will use our strongest attacks and attack that male dragon at the same time. That way, our chances of success will be the highest. Ling Ying said. He's cultivating in the Tao of indestructibility, so why don't we ask him what he's afraid of first? That way, we'll be able to figure out what he's afraid of, Lu Chu suggested. And Lin felt that it was reasonable. He turned around and asked, Senior, what are you afraid of? In other words, what kind of power is most likely to kill you? The dragon male replied, I'm afraid of pain. And Lin's lips twitched. That's it. The dragon tribe male pondered for a moment before adding, I'm also afraid of loneliness. And Lin, after a round of discussion, everyone decided to send Hong Do to be the first person to kill the dragon tribe male. They wanted to see what his indestructibility was like. It would be best if he succeeded, but if he didn't, it would be a data collection to provide theoretical experience for their future plans. Hong Do walked up to the dragon tribe male with an expression of disrespect. He had no choice. He was the first person chosen by the voting results, so no matter what, he was still number one for once. Come, I've already removed all my defenses. Use your strongest and most terrifying power to kill me, the dragon tribe male said. Then he clasped his hands behind his back, as if he was ready to be slaughtered by Hong Do. Hong Do took a deep breath. Didn't they look down on me? Now, I'm going to prove myself and show them just how strong I am. Hong Do roared in rage, and a towering crimson flame erupted from his body. Scorching heat waves swept out for over a kilometer, and his might was extremely terrifying. Red Lotus explosion. He placed his hands on his chest and made a gesture similar to a heart. A crimson lotus flower appeared from his chest and slowly floated toward the dragon tribe male. The lotus flower contained an extremely terrifying flame power. It continuously condensed and compressed, releasing an extremely dazzling and scorching light. This is a lotus formed from my most powerful flame of life. Once it explodes, the temperature at the center of the flames will be over 100,000 degrees. Even if you're returned to Void Stage Cultivator, you'll still be burned to ashes by this high temperature, Hongdo said as he retreated. The others also retreated to avoid being affected by the shock waves of the explosion. The Dragon Tribe male scratched his head in confusion. Was that rock golem talking to him just now? It should be. But please, we don't speak the same language. That confident expression made it seem as if he could really understand what he was saying. The Dragon Tribe male deduced that Hongdo probably wanted him to eat this crimson lotus flower, right? That should be it. Thereupon, the Dragon Tribe male opened his mouth and swallowed the crimson lotus flower floating toward him. Hongdo, everyone, boom! An earth-shattering explosion sounded. They could see the Dragon Tribe male's stomach expand and turn red. It was as if a sun was being born in his stomach. Then he opened his mouth wide. PFFF, like a laser cannon. The flames shot toward the hazy sky, as if they were going to pierce through the heavens. Following the release of energy, his stomach slowly shrunk again. The Dragon Tribe male grimaced and rubbed his stomach. So hot and swollen. It hurts so much. No, it doesn't hurt so much. It just hurts, but it doesn't kill me. Burp. Hongdo's body swayed slightly, and he stared at the Dragon Tribe male in disbelief. How is this possible? My most powerful attack was eaten, and it even exploded in his stomach, and it only felt a little hot and swollen? He slowly squatted down and crossed his rock arms. Then he lowered his head and murmured, I really am a useless rock. I'm completely useless. And Lin and the others didn't even want to ridicule Hongdo anymore. They were also shocked by the Dragon Tribe male's physical strength. He tossed a large bomb into his stomach, yet he looked completely fine after the explosion. His physical strength was absolutely terrifying. I feel like we definitely won't be able to kill this Dragon Tribe male using normal offensive spell techniques. We have to attack from another angle. Let me be the second one. Lu Chuchu thought to herself for a moment before drawing her longbow. The vital energy of heaven and earth started to surge violently, and a semi-transparent arrow started to materialize on the bowstring. And Lin looked at the arrow and felt a sharp pain in his consciousness. There was also an indescribable feeling of being torn apart. It was as if he was facing an existence that could annihilate his soul. Divine technique, soul-crushing arrow. Lu Chuchu yelled, and the semi-transparent arrow created an invisible ripple in the air. It pierced through the air and instantly pierced through the Dragon Tribe male's head. This is a divine bow technique that specifically targets one's consciousness. It's my most powerful attack against one's consciousness. If his consciousness is unable to withstand my spirit-vanquishing soul-vanquishing arrow, then he will perish, Lu Chuchu explained. Everyone stared nervously at the Dragon Tribe male who had his head pierced by the soul-crushing arrow. Their breathing slowed as if they were afraid of alerting something. In the instant that the Dragon Tribe male was struck by the arrow, his expression froze, and it was as if he had lost something. However, his eyes quickly regained clarity, and he massaged his brows with a pained expression. My head hurts like hell. No, it's not that his head hurts. It's only pain, not death. Sigh. His sorrowful sigh reverberated throughout heaven and earth. Everyone's eyes widened in shock, as if they had witnessed something inconceivable. Lu Chuchu's slender body swayed, and a dejected expression appeared on her face. How could this be? I used all of my trump cards, and it only made his head hurt, and Lin was also given a fright. Lu Chuchu was the one with the most powerful offensive ability in their team. Even so, she was unable to kill the defenseless Dragon Tribe male. The disparity in strength made him feel despair. Just what else could they do to kill this Dragon Tribe male? Chapter 508. And Lin racked his brains to see which of his skills were more powerful. The first skill that came to his mind was the Nuclear Lightning Fist. This attack could at least cripple a return to Void Stage Mighty Figure, even if it didn't kill him. However, this Dragon Tribe male was clearly no ordinary return to Void Stage Mighty Figure. He was a return to void stage mighty figure who had attained the Tao of indestructibility. This meant that he was definitely a F***king powerful being. Didn't he see how he took Hong Do's attack like it was a bowl of spicy soup? How could a being with such terrifying physical strength die after taking a nuclear lightning fist? Right here, Ling Ying began to float toward the Dragon Tribe male. Let me do it. Just because his body and consciousness are powerful doesn't mean that his body won't react with the outside world. It doesn't mean that his cell structure won't deteriorate due to poison. As he spoke, his aura surged and his tentacles danced in the air. Suddenly, a drop of black liquid shot out from one of the longest tentacles. It floated in the air and was pitch black in color. This drop of liquid is poison that I've refined for over 3 years. If you put it into the ocean, it can instantly kill all living beings within a radius of 50 kilometers. It's impervious to any kind of power and can rapidly kill the cells of living beings, robbing them of their life force. In the end, the body will decompose into the tiniest particles. Swallow it. Ling Ying tossed the drop of black liquid to the Dragon Tribe male. The Dragon Tribe male looked at the drop of black liquid with disdain. Seeing this, Lin immediately relayed Ling Ying's words to the Dragon Tribe male. All right, in order to die successfully, I'll endure it. The Dragon Tribe man frowned and swallowed the drop of liquid into his stomach. Everyone looked at the male in front of them nervously, anticipating what was going to happen next. The Dragon Tribe male's body trembled as if he had been electrocuted. Then, as if nothing had happened, he rubbed his stomach, looking as if he had not had enough. I thought that this drop of black liquid would be disgusting, but I didn't expect it to have a different kind of mellow fragrance. After I swallowed it and it melted into my body, my whole body couldn't help but shiver. A destructive feeling of numbness spread all over my body and surged to my soul. In the end, my soul reached a high climax. The Dragon Tribe male gave a thumbs up. Amazing. And Lin began to relay the story expressionlessly. Everyone was dumbstruck. Ling Ying's body swayed violently, and she almost fell from the sky. Do you still have this liquid? I'll make an exception and let you poison me again. The Dragon Tribe man added. Ling Ying spat out a mouthful of blood. What the F***ck do you mean I'll poison you again? I mean let you enjoy yourself again, right? That was the venom that he had refined for 3 years, and it was used up by that man, just like that. Ling Ying had a mental breakdown, and she stood beside Hong Do while drawing circles on the ground with her tentacles. And Lin felt immense pressure. He felt that he no longer had any trump cards. Most of his spells were simple and crude. If he wanted to kill someone with such abnormal defense, the success rate was infinitely close to 0. He had to find another way. Tina, it's your turn this time. And Lin said, Tina nodded nonchalantly before charging toward the Dragon Tribe man with her Heart Lotus ice sword in hand. She didn't have that many twists and turns. Her Heart Lotus ice sword elongated infinitely, and it was like a blue line that sliced heaven and earth apart as it slashed toward the Dragon Tribe cultivator's throat with boundless sharpness. Poochie! The fearsome blade sliced through the Dragon Tribe cultivator's throat, and blood gushed forth. The Dragon Tribe cultivator was also given a fright. Never would he have thought that this tiny little thing would give him such a pleasant surprise. Use more force. Hurry up and slice. You're almost there. Don't give up. He encouraged her as he spat out a mouthful of blood. The scene was simply too beautiful. Tina let loose a delicate cry, and the power of holy light erupted from her body before fusing into the Heart Lotus ice sword. Blue and white sword projections intertwined, and the power of the sword was elevated to the next level. Splat! Blood splattered through the air, and a human head with a dragon horn was severed from his body before falling to the ground. And Lin and the others all drew a sharp intake of breath before erupting into raucous cheers. You finally killed that psycho. You did a great job, Little Na. And Lin was not stingy with his words of praise. All of us thought that he was able to swallow Hong Do's attack, so we all thought that his defenses were indestructible. However, We neglected the fact that powerful weapons can sometimes be combined with physical strength to break through his insane defenses, Lu Chuchu said with a smile. Hongdo continued to draw circles upon hearing this. Which one of you called me a nut job? A familiar voice suddenly sounded. Everyone shuddered as they looked toward the source of the voice, and all of them drew a sharp intake of breath. The Dragon Tribe cultivator in the center was clutching his head with his right hand, and there was a displeased expression on his face from being called a nut job. And Lin, everyone, Hongdo told me. And Lin replied with an honest expression. F*CK. And Lin, are you trying to frame me again? Hongdo flared up with rage. All right. I can't be bothered with these trivial matters. That fairy performed quite well, and I felt like I was about to die. However, that was just an illusion. An attack of this caliber is still too weak. I feel like with your strength, you guys can slice me into 1,000 pieces, but that's just an illusion. An attack of this caliber is still too weak. I feel like with your strength alone, you guys won't be able to do anything even if you slice me into 1,000 pieces. The Dragon Tribe cultivator placed his head back to its original position, and countless crimson lines suddenly appeared on the incision on his skin. His head was completely sewn back together. It's your turn now. I hope you won't disappoint me. The Dragon Tribe male turned toward Lin with a smile. It's your turn now. I hope you won't disappoint me. The Dragon Tribe cultivator turned toward Lin with a smile. It could be said that Tina's previous attack had dissuaded him from using the 6 strikes of the War God. Now, there was only one technique left, and Lin suddenly raised his head to look at the Dragon Tribe cultivator, and a pair of eyes formed from golden vein patterns appeared on his forehead. Divine Plunder Technique. A golden ripple spread out and swept toward the Dragon Tribe cultivator. Boom! Tens of thousands of powerful spell techniques and unique energy signatures appeared in Lin's mind. And Lin felt like his head was about to split open, and his entire being was submerged by this vast amount of information. F*CK. Don't normal people only have a few or a dozen abilities that they can plunder? How come this Dragon Tribe cultivator has tens of thousands of abilities? What kind of monster is he? PFFF. And Lin threw up a large mouthful of blood from the backlash of the spell technique, and he half knelt to the ground as he almost fainted. Is the Divine Plunder Technique overloaded? I haven't even plundered any abilities yet. The Dragon Tribe cultivator stared at Lin with a dumbstruck expression. Everyone else was also staring at Lin with bewilderment on their faces. What happened? Why didn't Lin throw up blood? F*CK. I can't take it anymore. I need to rest. And Lin waved his hands frantically as if he were suffering from kidney failure. Dragon Tribe cultivator, everyone. So Lin didn't even get to do anything before withdrawing? Was he severely injured by the Dragon Tribe cultivator's aura? The Dragon Tribe cultivator was this terrifying. Chapter 509. And Lin swallowed a blood spirit pill before sitting down to meditate. He hadn't even started plundering before he was struck by a spell technique. This was an absolute humiliation to him. However, thinking about it, the Dragon Tribe male was an old monster that had lived for God knows how many tens of thousands of years, so it wasn't strange for him to know some spell techniques. As such, Lin's defeat was understandable. Are you all right? Hongdo stood up and made his way over to Lin before asking in a deep voice. Lin's chest constricted. He didn't think that Hongdo would ask him if he was all right. This was truly a humiliation. The Dragon Tribe male scratched his head in confusion. Although, I don't know what's going on, but seeing as you can't kill me, why don't you chat with me? And Lin was still recuperating from his injuries, and Tina was very considerate as she translated for him. Everyone looked at each other upon hearing this. This Dragon Tribe male was extremely powerful, and they didn't dare to disobey him. Thus, they could only obediently stand in a line and allow him to speak. Tell me, what's going on in the outside world? Has the destruction of our continent ended? The Dragon Tribe male asked in a calm voice. If the world you're talking about is the ancient Taichu realm, then the destruction hasn't ended. There's less than 1% of the continent left, and it'll probably disappear forever after tens of thousands of years. Ling Ying waved her tentacles as she relayed the information she knew. The dragon tribe male fell silent for a moment before a faint smile appeared on his face. The ancient Tai Chu realm. So you're all living beings from another world? That makes sense. You're all so young, so there's no way normal living beings could be born in the outside world. Furthermore, your life force hasn't been contaminated, so you're clearly not born in this world. Senior, can you tell us why this world has become like this? Lu Chu asked with a curious expression. She had never heard of any sane mighty figures in the ancient Tai Chu realm. Now that she had encountered one, she naturally couldn't give up. She had to seize this opportunity to learn more about this world. The dragon tribe male chuckled lightly, but a dejected expression appeared on his face. Knowing too much right now won't do you any good. In fact, it might even affect your Tao hearts. All you need to remember is that nothing is eternal, not even the heavens. The man pointed at the sky above and continued. There will be a time when it will collapse. The dragon tribe male clearly knew something about the collapse of this world, but he didn't want to talk too much with Lu Chu and the others. Instead, he was very interested in Tina's world. The information that Lu Chu had obtained from the dragon tribe male was limited to the locations near Panlong Mountain that had a high probability of producing realm essence crystals, as well as the reason why they were produced. Realm essence crystals were the essence of a world. They were the source of matter left behind after a world had collapsed. Tao integration stage mighty figures could use them to create a new world. They usually grew in the nodes of collapsing worlds, and the more chaotic the collapsing environment, the higher the probability of them appearing. They could be found in the demon god tribe male star, of demon essence demon to them. In Mo, Huan Tian and God, it, God of it, the god long, and of the saint, demon, long, I too, of to, and then in Tian, and of, and Lin listened to the dragon tribe man speak, and he learned that the man's name was Xiao Tu, and he was a general of the ancient Tai Chu realm dragon tribe. At that time, the dragon tribe was far more powerful than the current dragon tribe of the dragon court of the eastern seas. They had several Tao integration stage mighty figures, and there was also an illuminating dragon that could command the weather within a radius of 10,000 kilometers. When it opened its eyes, it was day. When it closed its eyes, it was night. When it closed its eyes, it could determine the seasons. In any case, the dragon tribe on this continent was even more powerful than the celestial court and was far more powerful than the dragon court of the eastern seas. According to the male dragon tribe cultivator, there was also an AO faction in the dragon tribe. He wondered if it was the predecessor of the dragon court of the eastern seas. After chatting for a while, Xiao Tu turned to Enlin again. Mr. Enlin, have you thought about how you're going to kill me? Don't throw up blood again. The corners of Enlin's mouth twitched. He had actually thought of a way when he was meditating. However, he didn't know how safe this method would be. If he was even the slightest bit careless, he could die as well. I think I've thought of a way, but before I use this method, I have a few questions that I would like to ask you, Senior. Enlin hesitated momentarily before deciding to give a try. Sure, ask away. Xiao Tu nodded nonchalantly. Senior, if you don't have the power of Tao to prevent you from committing suicide, what techniques would you need to use to kill yourself? Enlin asked. That's a lot. Even though I'm cultivating in the Tao of indestructibility, I haven't reached the Tao integration stage yet. If the destructive power exceeds a certain threshold, it can break through my indestructible body. Let me think. If I could attack myself, there would be over 10,000 ways to kill myself. Xiao Tu replied with a serious expression. Everyone was shocked to hear this, and a sense of defeat welled up in their hearts. And Lin was ecstatic to hear this, and he continued, Then how many ways are there to kill yourself by releasing energy? The success rate has to be high, the energy has to be gathered precisely, and there are no side effects. Xiao Tu blinked as a thoughtful expression appeared on his face. He didn't know why Enlin was asking this, but he still tried his best to cooperate with Enlin. I have a dragon's breath technique known as the star engulfing flames, which can instantly annihilate the target's body and consciousness. This technique fits your description. What do you think? Enlin's balls froze upon hearing this. It wasn't a matter of what he thought. It was a matter of how terrifying it was. Instantly annihilating the target's body and consciousness. That was F*King eradicating the target's existence. He wasn't sure if he could use this energy. Do you want to think of another technique? And Lin continued. Xiao Tu thought for a moment before replying. I have a sword of death that can connect with the power of heaven and earth and sever karma with a single sword strike. Holy *T. That's even more unfathomable now. Ahem. Let's talk about the star engulfing flames technique. It's a ballistic attack, right? And Lin asked. Ballistic attack. Xiao Tu blinked in confusion, clearly unable to comprehend this unfamiliar term. It's a straight-line attack that has a clear trajectory, and Lin explained. Oh, that's right. Xiao Tu nodded, and Lin heaved a light sigh of relief upon hearing this, and a hint of confidence appeared on his face. Then please attack me with the star-engulfing flames, Senior. What? Everyone was shocked to hear this, and they stared blankly at Lin. You want to die? Why? Hongdo's mouth gaped open. Lin, why do you want to die? You haven't even made your will yet. Who's going to inherit your storage ring? Lu Chuchu asked with an astonished expression. Even so, she still hadn't forgotten her true self. Giant and Lin, didn't you say you were going to show me this world? Tears shimmered in her eyes. Don't overthink things. I don't want to die, and I'll be fine. This is all part of the plan. And Lin waved a dismissive hand before turning to Xiao Tu again. Please attack me with your full power. I'll use the star-engulfing flames. He couldn't tell Xiao Tu's plan. Otherwise, it would be hinting at his Tao, and Xiao Tu would most likely not attack him. Really? You're not afraid of death? Xiao Tu asked. I'm afraid of death, but I'm not going to die. As for you, I hope you won't be afraid of death when the time comes. And Lin chuckled. Ha ha. All right. How interesting. I'm coming. Take this attack. Xiao Tu chortled with glee as he opened his mouth and aimed it toward Lin. Star-engulfing flames. Boom. Terrifying black flames tore through space before hurtling toward Lin with the power of annihilation. Chapter 510. The space in the wake of the black flames was riddled with cracks. The terrifying power of annihilation radiated forth, striking everyone with a sense of asphyxiation. And Lin had already fully charged the vermilion bird mirror in his hand. After activating the vermilion bird mirror with all his might, a rippling mirror surface appeared over his body, creating a barrier around his body. Boom! The star-engulfing flames that Xiao Tu had spat out crashed into the rippling mirror surface, upon which a peculiar ripple appeared. Immediately afterward, the flames seemed to have entered a different dimension and disappeared. Xiao Tu's expression faltered upon seeing this, and he felt as if he was looking at himself when he turned to look at Lin. His other self's mouth was wide open, and the star-engulfing flames were blasting forth from his mouth. Boom. Within the rippling mirror surface, the star-engulfing flames erupted forth with the power of annihilation, and it was like a ferocious beast that was about to incinerate everything in its path, all of which was directed toward Xiao Tu. Xiao Tu was truly astonished this time. He looked up at the oncoming attack, and he temporarily lost all ability to think. Only one thought flashed through his mind. Should he dodge or not? This shouldn't count as self-destruction, right? This was Lin's technique, right? It wouldn't go against his own Tao, right? Just as these thoughts were running through his mind, the star-engulfing flames had already engulfed Xiao Tu's body and annihilated his consciousness along with it. Everything returned to nothingness, and only the space that was riddled with cracks was left, illustrating just how terrifying that attack had been. Lu Chuchu and the others stared blankly at Xiao Tu, who had been incinerated into nothingness, before turning to Lin, who was standing on the spot, completely unscathed, and they finally drew a sharp intake of breath. What spell technique was that? How could it reflect such a terrifying attack? Ling Ying stared at Lin with awe and veneration on her face. No wonder you made that request. Lin, you've already come up with such a perfect plan. A hint of envy appeared on Lu Chuchu's delicate features as she stared at Lin with bright eyes. Tina flew around in Lin with elation in her eyes. Giant in Lin's technique is truly marvelous. As the saying went, the one who understood one's own weaknesses the most was oneself. Not only would Xiao Tu be able to make up for his lack of strength by killing himself, but he would also be able to find the perfect remedy for his weakness. Lin really is a genius. All of Tina's words were useless, but Lin was very happy to see it, and he turned to everyone with a nonchalant smile. Hongdo felt like this smile was a little dazzling, and he recoiled involuntarily. I'm finally free. Thank you. Thank you, Lin. I didn't expect happiness to come so quickly and so suddenly. This voice made everyone shudder. It was Xiao Tu's voice. Furthermore, this wasn't the Tai Chu language or the ancient man language. Instead, it was an extremely special language that allowed everyone to clearly understand what Xiao Tu was saying. Lin and the others looked around, but they couldn't find any trace of Xiao Tu's day. There's no need to look for me. I'm already dead, and this is only a wisp of my Tao intent talking to you now. This wisp of Tao intent will disappear soon, and the resurrection spell formation that I've prepared will be fully activated. Resurrection spell formation? And Lin almost threw up a mouthful of blood upon hearing this. F***CK. You can resurrect? So you're not really dead? No, I'm really dead. Otherwise, the resurrection spell formation wouldn't have been fully activated. This cage is formed by the laws of heaven and earth. Only by transcending life and death, and coming back to life from the extremity of death, can one deceive the heavens and earth. Fortunately, I'm afraid of death, so I prepared a large-scale resurrection formation in advance. Otherwise, I would really be left with only two choices, a life worse than death or an eternal death. I'll cut to the chase. I'm here to tell you that there are 6 blazing sun pills under the shattered stone pillars. They're tier 5 immortal pills that I refined using the power of the void during my long years of boredom. After consuming them, you'll be able to unleash limitless latent potential for a short time. It's very fun. Xiao Tu's voice slowly faded away like a gust of wind. Lu Chu and Lin's eyes lit up, and they immediately ran toward the shattered stone pillars. Boom, 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 boom. Transportation technique, earth-breaking technique, excavation technique. Soon, an exquisite box appeared in front of everyone. And Lin opened the box. Holy **T. A rich pill aroma instantly wafted through the air, and the power of the pill even swept outward for several hundred meters. A kind of pill intent that wanted to break through the sky made everyone a little excited. I contributed the most, so it's not too much to ask for 2, right? And Lin licked his lips. No one had any objections, so Lin received 3 scorching sun pills. Hong Do held one of the scorching sun pills with a hint of shame on his face. After all, he had made it this far, so he felt a little guilty. Lu Chu had a nagging feeling that there was something else in the ground, so she continued to dig for a while. In the end, she was still dragged away by Lin, and only then did she reluctantly stop. This sanctuary was only about 10,000 feet in radius, and everything had been reduced to white dust. Even the skeletons had been wiped out by Lin and the others. They walked around the sanctuary and didn't discover anything else, so they decided to leave. In the center of the White Lake, a huge splash erupted and 5 figures appeared. The sun had already risen above the horizon, and another day had passed before they knew it. We're going to the Heavenly Snow Abyss Mountain next. It's the closest place to Panlong Mountain, and I heard from Xiao Tu that there are even more realm essence crystals there than Panlong Mountain. Are you guys planning to go there? And Lin asked Hong Do and Lingying. Lingying nodded. I've explored almost half of Panlong Mountain, and I've already obtained all the realm essence crystals I wanted. I was just about to go to the Heavenly Snow Abyss Mountain to have a look. I heard that all of the snow beasts there have a realm essence crystal, but I'm not sure if that's true. Lu Chu pursed her lips. So what if it's true? How can killing a snow beast earn me more money than killing an enemy? If you ask me, killing people for their treasures is the right way to go. Ling, Ing Hongdo, and Lin pursed his lips, but he still made up his mind in the end. All right, then let's go to the Heavenly Snow Abyss Mountain to have a look. Heavenly Snow Abyss Mountain. This entire area was covered in boundless snow and ice. When the sun shone upon this area, it would be transformed into a blue light, and there was not a single hint of warmth in the air. There was a massive, inky black rift in the sky. The rift stretched across the sky like a scar in the sky, and it was filled with an aura of death and destruction. Directly below the rift, a mountain over 100,000 feet tall stood between heaven and earth, and it appeared as if it were about to sink into the rift. There was a massive ice crystal at the summit of the mountain, and within the ice crystal was an exquisitely beautiful woman with a cold expression. She was currently meditating with her eyes closed, and she was constantly drawing upon the destructive power within the rift in the sky. 6 powerful snow maidens stood guard beside the ice crystal, and they looked around cautiously. Palace leader Qi, Shangwan Yi's rate of absorption seems to be a lot faster than we anticipated. At this rate, the soul aura of the ice matriarch will awaken within her body in a day at most. If that's the case, can we complete the second plan as well? A petite snow maiden suggested. Even though we fulfilled the conditions for the second plan, don't forget that protecting Shangwan Yi is our top priority. We have to cancel any missions that might endanger her. A woman with a pair of massive wings of ice and snow behind her was clearly the leader of this group of snow maidens. A woman with a pair of massive wings of ice and snow on her back spoke in an extremely firm voice. She was clearly the leader of this group of snow maidens. If you don't want to go, then so be it. It's a pity about my snow soul beast. The petite snow maiden pouted and ignored the cold, acting palace leader. Chapter 511. On a certain continent in the ancient Tai Chu realm, there is no sun or moon here, only an eternal, boundless starry sky. Peculiar and terrifying spatial mystic realms, cruel and violent heavenly void beasts, as well as all types of supreme treasures. This was the Void Star section, which was filled with boundless perils and opportunities. This was the main battlefield for return to Void Stage mighty figures. Near a gargantuan sacrificial altar, a white-robed sword immortal slashed out one earth-shattering sword projection after another, each of which was capable of tearing open abysses close to 10 kilometers in length. In front of him, 3 distorted phantom bodies lunged toward the man with sharp screeches. One of the void spirit bodies had a viscous sea of blood within a radius of 5 kilometers, and all of their attacks will be nullified by the boundless sea of blood, including the Sword Immortal's sword projection. Another void spirit body wielded a bolt of annihilation lightning, which was powerful enough to pierce through space and annihilate all things. The final void spirit body seemed to have fused as one with the void, but it was imbued with the most dangerous killing intent, making it the most lethal of the 3 void spirit bodies. Kukuku. Lu Dongbin, you won't be able to get away. How fortunate! Not only will we be able to devour such a delicious soul, but even this fragment of the realm core will be ours. The void spirit body standing atop the sea of blood cackled wildly as its twisted arms danced through the air, and the sea of blood transformed into countless massive hands that pounced toward Lu Dongbin. You guys won't be able to kill me. The longsword in Lu Dongbin's hands split into 9, all of which instantly stabbed toward 9 different locations in the air to form a massive spell formation. 9-fold demon vanquishing sword formation. Activate. Countless sword projections appeared within the spell formation as he let loose an almighty roar, creating an impenetrable sword net that pulverized the crimson hands. Right at this moment, the ground suddenly began to tremor violently. A dazzling light erupted from the sacrificial altar as the boundless power of stars surged toward it in a frenzy. A pillar of white light soared into the sky as a dragon's roar erupted into the heavens, imbued with an unparalleled might. Lu Dongbin was the closest to the pillar of light. His expression shifted drastically as he hurriedly retreated. In that instant, the 3rd void spirit body suddenly sprang into action. Its body transformed into a black spear, which broke through Lu Dongbin's ninefold demon, slaying sword formation with unstoppable force before stabbing toward Lu Dongbin's chest. Lu Dongbin had no choice but to raise his sword to block the attack, forming a circular barrier of light in front of him. At this moment, the Bloodsea Hand and the Nirvana Thunderbolt arrived at the same time, bringing with them extremely terrifying energy. Rumble. The energy bombardment reduced the ground in a radius of several kilometers to dust. The sword formation light barrier in front of Lu Dongbin collapsed, and his body was violently blasted away. He coughed up blood and crashed into the white pillar of light, causing it to tremble violently. Roar! A tens of miles long black dragon emerged from the pillar of light, letting out a deafening dragon roar. It suddenly destroyed the white pillar of light and descended upon the world with a monstrous pressure. The gigantic body circled in the sky, its black dragon scales expanding and closing, devouring the starlight. It was as if it wanted to cover the entire sky. Who is disturbing this dragon's resurrection? The gigantic black dragon in the sky spoke with a voice like rumbling thunder. Lu Dongbin's face turned deathly pale as he looked up at the black dragon in the sky. He had seen creatures larger than this dragon, but he had never seen one with an aura as powerful as this dragon's, even in the dragon court of the eastern seas. This was undoubtedly a winged dragon at the return to Void Pinnacle stage. And this was a winged dragon that was only half a step away from the Tao integration stage. The other 3 Void Spirit Tribe living beings stood in the distance with sinister smiles on their faces as they looked down at Lu Dongbin. It was quite clear that their combined attack was not to kill Lu Dongbin. Instead, it was to push him into the Winged Dragon's resurrection formation so that the Winged Dragon could kill Lu Dongbin for them. Once Lu Dongbin died, they would be able to use a mystic technique to imprison Lu Dongbin's soul before slowly savoring it. That's the soul of a top-rate sword immortal. It must be delicious. The lightning void spirit body extended its tongue and licked its lips with a scorching light in its eyes. Oh, human, you were the one who crashed into my resurrection formation? The black dragon's aura surged into the heavens as a frosty light glowed in its eyes. Lu Dongbin gritted his teeth as he tried to think of an excuse. At this moment, the black dragon suddenly spoke again. I was just killed by a human, and now I've encountered another human. Lu Dongbin's heart sank upon hearing this. He was screwed. This dragon must have hated the human race to death. Damn it, who was it that killed this dragon? He had angered this dragon, and now he had to be the scapegoat. Lu Dongbin cursed the human that he had never met in his heart 10,000 times. The 3 Void Spirit Tribe mighty figures in the distance were all ecstatic upon hearing this. Cuckoo, enemies really do meet. I'm afraid Lu Dongbin is going to be killed by that black dragon this time. The lightning void spirit body chortled with glee. That's great. Does this count as one of our own, killing one of our own? The void spirit body of the blood sea was also very pleased with itself. What I'm more interested in is which mighty figure was able to kill such a powerful being. The indistinct void spirit body in the air was quite curious. Right at this moment, the black dragon turned to Lu Dongbin. That's why. I'm quite fond of humans. You seem to have been bullied by those 3 Void Spirit Tribe bastards. Do you want me to take care of them for you? What? The 3 returned to Void Stage Void Spirit Tribe mighty figures' laughter abruptly cut off, and they all faltered upon hearing this. Lu Dongbin was also dumbstruck upon hearing this. This dragon was killed by a human, so it had a favorable impression of the human race and was willing to help the human race? What kind of logic was this? Was this dragon crazy? Was there something wrong with its brain? Lu Dongbin's brain worked very quickly. Who cared if this dragon was crazy or not? As long as it could help him, everything was fine. Tears welled up in Lu Dongbin's eyes as he spoke with grief and indignation. Senior, if it weren't for your timely arrival, I would have been killed by those 3 Void Spirit Tribe mighty figures. They even tried to destroy your spell formation, and I vowed to protect you with my life. All right, all right, don't waste time. Just kill them, and everything will be fine." The black dragon was clearly not in a good mood, and a sinister smile appeared on its face as it looked at the three return to Void Stage Void Spirit Tribe mighty figures. "It's been a long time since I've exercised. You three are just appetizers, not bad." The three Void Spirit Tribe mighty figures' expressions shifted drastically, and they immediately fled into the distance. In the next instant, the space within a radius of several dozen kilometers transformed into a hell of lightning. Space shattered, and the great Tao rumbled as countless bolts of lightning flashed between heaven and earth. 10 seconds later, the black dragon returned to the sacrificial altar with the two mutilated bodies in its mouth. Oof. Who would have thought that there would be a little brat who can blend in with the darkness and run so fast? It's been too long since I've exercised. The black dragon wore a disconsolate expression. Lu Dongbin stood off to the side with an apologetic smile on his face. The black dragon was still dissatisfied with such a fearsome battle record. So what else could he say? He had slain two return to Void Stage Void Spirit Tri-Mighty figures and severely wounded a Void Spirit Tri-Mighty figure in less than 10 seconds. But these Void Spirit Tri-Mighty figures taste pretty good. They're sticky and smooth, and they can enhance one's consciousness. The black dragon chewed a few more times before swallowing the two corpses into his stomach with a yearning expression. "Thank you for saving me, Senior. There are a few return to Void Stage Void Spirit Tribe living beings in the Void Star section. If you like to eat them, I can take you to them." Lu Dongbin forced a smile onto his face as he offered in a humble manner. The black dragon twisted its body and wagged its tail, as if it was getting used to its new body. After a short while, it said, "By the way, you humans use the same passageway to enter the ancient Tai Chu realm, right?" Lu Dongbin hesitated for a moment and felt that there was no need to hide it. So he cupped his hands and said, "Yes, Senior. Then you don't have to thank me. If you want to thank someone, thank that little friend in Lin. If he hadn't killed me, I wouldn't have appeared here to save you." The black dragon waved its tail indifferently. When Lu Dongbin heard this, he was dumbfounded, as if he had been struck by lightning. He suddenly remembered that day in the palace, the young man who smiled innocently. What the F*** CK? So this powerful black dragon was killed by Enlin. So the person whom he had scolded 10,000 times was Enlin. My God, there was only one thought in Lu Dongbin's mind at this moment. Enlin was terrifying. Chapter 512. I'll be sure to repay Enlin the next time I see him. Lu Dongbin came to his senses and spoke with a respectful expression. How could he not know what the black dragon was trying to do? It was clearly trying to use him to repay Enlin. As for why the black dragon wanted to repay Enlin, even though it had been killed by Enlin, that was not something a normal person like him could understand. In any case, he wasn't going to pry too much into it unless he was crazy. The black dragon nodded with satisfaction before suddenly opening its cavernous mouth and inhaling sharply toward the sacrificial altar. Boom! An earth-shattering suction force erupted, causing the massive sacrificial altar to begin to crumble. A dark black vortex appeared in the black dragon's mouth, and it was imbued with a suction force capable of engulfing all things. In the end, the white fragment at the bottom of the sacrificial altar was still sucked into its mouth. Ha! Nice! It's a fragment of the realm core. Is this the present you're giving me after my resurrection? That's a good deal. The black dragon wagged its tail excitedly. Lu Dongbin's lips twitched, but he didn't say anything. However, his heart was throbbing with pain. All of a sudden turn of events unfolded. A mighty force suddenly descended from heaven and earth, acting upon the black dragon's body, causing its tough dragon scales to suddenly crack open and blood to splatter through the air. Howl! The black dragon wailed in agony and almost plummeted from the sky. What kind of power is this? Why can't I resist it? Lu Dongbin came to his senses and spoke in a panicked voice. Senior, this crumbling heaven and earth can no longer accommodate return to void stage living beings who are close to Tao integration stage. Any living beings of this level who enter this realm will suffer backlash from the laws of heaven and earth. This continent has already become like this. The black dragon gritted its teeth as if it was enduring some kind of terrifying power. Where's your alternate world teleportation badge? Let me sense it. Lu Dongbin handed his teleportation badge to the black dragon without any hesitation. The world you're in gives me a very familiar feeling, as if it's the twin of this world. No, it's more appropriate to describe it as two mirror worlds. I'll leave this place first. It takes a lot of energy to travel between the two worlds with my physical body. If I stay here any longer, I'll probably die again. The black dragon swung its tail and immediately tore through space to escape. Lu Dongbin sighed as he watched the black dragon take away the fragment of the world core with a wave of its tail. Sigh, I've been busy for the past few days in vain again. Ancient God Realm, Snow Abyss Mountain. Hongdo was traversing through a massive cave. His massive rock body was curled up into a ball, and he was trembling uncontrollably. The red flames in front of his chest were extremely dim, as if they were on the verge of being snuffed out. Hang in there. The hanging ice lake is right in front of us. Lin gritted his teeth and persisted. The ceiling of the cave was covered with barbed icicles that emitted a chilling aura. The entire space was shrouded in blue cold air. There was a bright blue lake about a kilometer away from the cave, and the blue cold air was emanating from it. Even in such a frigid environment, there were no signs of ice forming over the lake. The closer they got to the hanging ice lake, the more terrifying the power of frost became. Xiao Tu said that snow soul beasts live at the bottom of the hanging ice lake. I wonder if that's true. Even if it's true, who's going to go down there and capture them? Lu Chuchu's teeth chattered. Her body was quite weak to begin with, so she was less resistant to the cold. Her petite body was curled up into a ball, and she was unable to keep out the frosty air. I'm a good swimmer, so I can go down there. Ling Ying volunteered. He was the one who was the least affected by the power of frost, and he floated through the air with a calm expression. And Lin nodded. Tina, Lu Chu, and I will provide support in case of emergency. Hongdo's flames are quite powerful, so he'll be responsible for illuminating the area and keeping the cold at bay. He turned toward Hongdo as he spoke. Huh, where's Hongdo? And Lin faltered slightly as he discovered that Hongdo had disappeared. Everyone was also startled to discover that Hongdo had been frozen into an ice sculpture a few dozen meters away. Hongdo had his arms wrapped around his chest, and his legs were spread wide open with fear and indignation etched on his face. Everyone, and Lin's lips twitched. Isn't he very bad, *SS, at using fire? What's going on here? Ling Ying scratched her head with a resigned expression. Hongdo's flames are the flames of life, which means that flames are like life itself. Life is afraid of the cold, so flames are also afraid of the cold. Hence, in order to protect itself, Hongdo has voluntarily withdrawn his power. This was the first time they had heard of flames that were afraid of the cold. In other words, Hongdo is now extremely afraid of the cold, so he's completely useless? And Lin rolled his eyes. An awkward expression appeared on Ling Ying's face. Let's ignore him and exclude him from the distribution of treasures. Everyone nodded upon hearing this. No **T. Thus, everyone arrived at the edge of the hanging ice lake. The bone-chilling frost continued to spread through the surroundings, and they had no choice but to unleash spell techniques to defend themselves. The lake was a deep blue and bottomless abyss, and the darkness at its depths seemed to be threatening to engulf all living beings. I can't do this anymore. I'd better get away from here. Lu Chuchu's long, beautiful hair was covered in frost, and her teeth were chattering as she retreated 100 meters away from the lake. If it weren't for this snow soul beast, she wouldn't have come to this accursed place to suffer in the cold. The snow soul beast was one of the 10 legendary beast pets of the ancient Taichu realm, and it possessed an extremely powerful ice-type Dao foundation. If nurtured well, it could even reach the return to void stage with no issues. Apparently, it was also extremely adorable. Just from its appearance alone, It was able to enchant countless female cultivators and become the #1 beast pet that all female cultivators yearned for. However, its population was extremely small, and it only appeared in the ancient Taichu realm, so there were very few people who owned it. Even on the entire Taichu continent, there were less than 10 people who owned a snow soul beast. Lu Chuchu was ecstatic when she heard about the whereabouts of the snow soul beast from Xiao Tu, and she immediately vowed to capture a snow soul beast and take it back with her. They really did find the hanging ice lake. Now all that was left was to see if there were any snow soul beasts in the lake. I'll be back soon. You guys wait outside. A layer of white liquid enshrouded Ling Ying's body before she began to dive into the lake. Lin squatted down and touched the surface of the suspended ice lake with his hand. The clear blue water was like blades of ice that cut into his skin relentlessly. The frosty aura was extremely destructive, and it soon left countless tiny wounds on his skin. The wounds then solidified, and they were cut open again, solidified, and cut open again. The cycle repeated itself. What an interesting power! Lin's interest was piqued. Just as he was about to continue, countless bolts of lightning suddenly exploded over the surface of the lake. Boom! A pillar of lightning soared into the sky, immediately following which Ling Ying's body appeared above the lake. Huh, so fast. And Lin faltered upon seeing this. Run! There are too many snow soul beasts in there. Ling Ying yelled as she began to flee toward the exit of the cave. Too many snow soul beasts. Lin and Lu Chuchu's eyes lit up in unison. Run my ***. They were worried that there wouldn't be enough snow soul beasts to go around, so it was a good thing that there were more of them now. Ling Ying hurriedly waved her feelers to hurry the two of them away. The snow soul beasts are very powerful. I only managed to escape after using a life-saving talisman. Her voice had only just fallen when countless splashes erupted over the surface of the lake as a series of figures began to appear. The snow soul beasts had appeared. Chapter 513. The snow soul beasts were extremely adorable, and Lin and Lu Chuchu couldn't help but take a few more glances at them. They were around the size of small watermelons, and their bodies were covered in fluffy white fur, giving them a very warm and fuzzy feeling. It had a pair of big and round black eyes that rippled with light blue ripples. It had a pink nose and white teeth that looked like little canines. It had no feet but a pair of short and delicate wings. An intoxicated expression appeared on Lu Chuchu's face. Sure enough, the snow soul beast didn't disappoint her at all. She was about to melt from the cuteness of this snow soul beast. And Lin also swallowed involuntarily. He wanted one of these adorable beast pets as well. No, he wanted 2 of them. He had to give one to Xiaolan. No. He had to take all of them. There were a total of 12 snow soul beasts here. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and run. Ling Ying yelled in a panicked voice at the sight of Lin and Lu Chuchu's dumbfounded expressions. Lin chuckled coldly. Run! A scorching light appeared in Lu Chuchu's eyes. No way. Ling Ying, ha! That's right. You want to run? That doesn't exist. A crisp and tender voice rang out, and Lin raised his head to discover that it was the largest of the 12 snow soul beasts that had spoken. You can speak the Taichu language. Lu Chuchu was astonished. The snow soul beast revealed its sharp canine teeth with a smug smile. Of course, countless powerful beings have died by my hands. Not a single one of them survived. All of them had their souls searched by me, and their knowledge was as vast as the ocean. And Lin's lips twitched. Why do you have to spout so many idioms in one go? Puffed. One audacious be ****starred. Do you think I, Shuizhantian, need you to judge me? The snow soul beast roared with rage. And Lin, Shuizhantian, then waved his wings at the snow soul beast behind him. Charge, little ones. Let's show these stupid humans how terrifying we are. The 11 snow soul beasts behind him let loose piercing cries as dazzling blue light erupted from their bodies. Extremely fearsome glacial power instantly proliferated for several hundred meters. In that instant, and Lin felt that everything around him began to slow down. He was shocked, and he immediately activated the divine flame in his body. However, before he could completely activate the divine flame, a black shadow rushed toward him. This was Shui Zhantian, who was the fattest and roundest among them. His body was enshrouded in a blue light, and he crashed toward Lin's chest like a shooting star. And Lin wanted to block it, but he found that his speed had been slowed down by the power of extreme cold, and he was unable to defend himself. Rumble! A huge force came crashing down like an avalanche, and Lin spat out a mouthful of blood, and his body flew backward. Giant and Lin. Tina's expression shifted as she slashed her Heart Lotus Ice sword toward Shui Zhantian with a dazzling white light. Insignificant skill. Shui Zhantian harumphed coldly as he abruptly flapped his little white wings, and his ball-shaped body evaded Tina's sword projection in an agile manner. Right at this moment, a streak of golden light flashed through the air like a bolt of lightning, choosing the exact same instant that Shui Zhantian dodged to launch an attack. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 3 figures tore through the air and positioned themselves in front of Shui Zhantian. These were 3 snow soul beasts. All of them spread open their wings at the same time to unleash a blue, crystalline protective spell formation. The arrow projection, imbued with the immensely powerful sealing power, crashed into the crystalline spell formation, upon which a peerless golden light erupted, instantly suppressing the power of extreme cold. However, it was also at this moment that 5 figures pounced toward Lu Chu at an extremely fast speed. Look out! And Lin spread open his wings of wind as he charged toward Lu Chu while slashing an inky black sword projection through the air with his evil slaying sword. The 5 snow soul beasts seemed to be very proficient in spell formations, and they instantly transformed into a twisted water barrier that deflected Lin's sword projection. Meteor Hammer. The 5 snow soul beasts' bodies bulged before crashing down toward Lin like massive hammers. Not only were their attacks extremely powerful, but they were also extremely fast. And Lin positioned himself in front of Lu Chu and unleashed a defensive sword projection. Boom, boom, boom. The snow soul beast shattered Lin's defenses, and the massive force of their collision sent him flying through the air again as blood gushed from his mouth. Each of these snow soul beasts was comparable to a soul formation stage cultivator, and they could unleash power equivalent to a cultivator at the soul formation pinnacle stage in their spell formation. In this extremely cold environment, Lin and the others' movements were restricted, while the snow soul beast's speed and power were off the charts. As such, Lin and the others were quickly forced into a disadvantageous position. Lu Chu had only retreated a few steps when the other 4 snow soul beasts pounced toward her. Tina was also being suppressed by the 3 snow soul beasts. Lu Chu hadn't added any defense or health points, and she was knocked to the ground by one of the snow soul beasts. Her petite body curled up into a ball, and she felt as if her bones were about to fall apart. One of the snow soul beasts was Shui Zhantian, and it pounced toward Lu Chu as a cold light flashed through its large, round eyes. Watch me crush you all. Shui Zhantian's body hurtled toward Lu Chu like a cannonball, and his body tore through the air with the sound of howling wind and rumbling thunder. If this attack were to land, Lu Chu would be severely wounded even if she didn't die. Sealing technique. Holy white lightning snake. A loud roar sounded. The one who had unleashed this attack was none other than Ling Ying, and over 1,000 bolts of lightning that resembled white snakes suddenly erupted from her tentacles before hurtling toward the 12 snow soul beasts. The white snakes of lightning were extremely fast, and the snow beasts were unable to evade in time as they were all struck by the white snakes of lightning. Ling Ying's attack wasn't very powerful, but it was capable of instantly paralyzing the snow beasts. Run! I can only unleash this spell technique once, and you won't have another chance if you don't run. Ling Ying yelled at Lin, Lu Chu, and Tina. Run! Why would you run? How could you bear to leave such adorable beast pets behind? And Lin slowly stood up, and the 4 divine flames formed a suit of armor around his body. The scorching temperatures emanating from his body made the air around him warp, and the earth below also turned a fiery red. He swallowed a scorching sun pill, and his aura instantly soared to the soul formation pinnacle stage. The flames around him became more and more fearsome, and it was as if they were going to incinerate the entire heavens. A delicate yet determined voice also sounded. "That's right. There are still so many adorable snow soul beasts waiting for me to conquer them. How could I bear to run away under these circumstances?" Lu Chu held a golden pill between her slender fingers, and she opened her cherry lips before swallowing it. Boom! The medicinal power of the scorching sun pill exploded forth, and her aura became extremely vast and terrifying. The 4 snow soul beasts before her faltered momentarily in the face of her powerful aura. Ling Ying stared at Lu Chu and Lin with a dumbstruck expression. "It's over. They've both gone insane." Never would she have thought that Lin and Lu Chu would be willing to swallow a 5th-grade immortal pill, the scorching sun pill, in a place like this. This pill would undoubtedly make the 2 of them even more powerful in a short time, and they might even be able to rival the snow soul beasts. However, was it really worth it to give up a trump card in exchange for a chance to conquer the snow soul beasts? Chapter 514. No one answered Ling Ying's question. Lin and Lu Chu's goal was very clear. They had to capture the snow soul beasts. The 5 snow soul beasts pounced toward Lin, only to be forced back by the tornado of divine flames that Lin had suddenly unleashed. His every movement was imbued with the power of a mighty figure at the soul formation pinnacle stage, and a full-force attack was infinitesimally close to a return to void stage mighty figure. Sea of divine flames. He stepped forward, and his great holy flame, heavenly void flame, demonic star flame, and setting moon flame appeared at once. Boundless flames instantly engulfed the entire cave, melting the ice and snow, transforming the entire cave into a crimson cavern of lava. The 12 snow soul beasts howled with anguish as if they had been struck by the terrifying flames. They quickly gathered together to form a mysterious spell formation, which materialized an icy blue crystal ball in the air, which exuded the power of extreme frost in order to keep the flames at bay. "You're only a spent force. Let's see how long you can keep up your arrogance." Shui Zhantian began to ramble again. Lu Chu harumphed coldly as she drew her bow to its fullest extent. The projection of a Kuan Peng appeared behind her, and its boundlessly majestic figure and majestic aura instantly caused the fur on the 12 snow soul beasts to stand on end. A golden arrow began to materialize on the bowstring, which was imbued with a peerlessly sharp aura. Divine technique, peerless formation-piercing arrow. Whoosh! The golden arrow tore through the sea of flames before piercing into the spell formation formed by the 12 snow soul beasts. The arrow collided with the spell formation, and the space around it twisted and warped as devastating shockwaves swept forth, annihilating everything in the surrounding area. Following a burst of sharp screeches, the crystalline ball cracked like an eggshell, and more cracks appeared on its surface before it crumbled to the ground. The 4 divine flames instantly enveloped all of the snow soul beasts, and their anguished cries rang out once again. And Lin's heart softened at the sight of the snow soul beast's pristine fur being charred black, and he began to reduce the intensity of his flames. At this moment, Lu Chu had already drawn her bow for the 2nd time, and a golden arrow materialized on the surface of the arrow. There were also peculiar veined patterns that shimmered on the surface of the arrow as a powerful sealing power proliferated outward. Divine technique, divine Buddha, evil vanquishing arrow. The golden arrow pierced through the air toward the 12 snow soul beasts. The flying arrows divided into 10, 10 into 100, and 100 into 1,000. Finally, the countless golden arrows formed a huge golden suppressive diagram in the air. The 12 snow beasts felt as if their bodies were being restrained by a strange power. Not only that, but their chi meridians were also being sealed. This is a sealing spell. Shui Zhantian's eyes widened with incredulity. Seeing this, Enlin withdrew his sea of divine flames. If he continued to use the sea of divine flames now, the snow soul beast would be cooked. Within the golden light suppression diagram, golden characters landed on the bodies of the snow beasts. They were like indestructible shackles, completely binding them. That's right, the divine Buddha evil vanquishing arrow is a sealing suppression technique. During this hour, all of you will lose all of your powers, and you won't be able to use your vital energy, Lu Chuchu said with a calm expression. Plop! The snow soul beasts in the air crashed to the ground like dumplings into water before rolling on the ground. Lu Chuchu's expression was no longer as solemn as before as her eyes lit up at the sight of these round, white snow soul beasts. Wow, this one's mine. She pounced towards Shui Zhantian and gave him a tight hug. She rubbed her delicate face against the furry ball, and it felt extremely good. And Lin also pounced towards Shui Zhantian for no other reason than that he was the most adorable among the snow soul beasts. His fur was the most glossy, and his eyes were the largest and roundest. He rubbed his round body with one hand while rubbing his small and intricate wings with the other. Oh, even though they're snow soul beasts, why are they so warm to the touch? They could be used as a pillow. And Lin exclaimed as he rubbed Shui Zhantian's lifeless body. Shut up. This snow soul beast is mine. Lu Chuchu glared at Enlin. What gives you the right to say that it's yours? It doesn't even have your mark on it. Enlin retorted. It's mine anyway. Lu Chuchu retorted. It's mine. Enlin also wanted it. The two of them then began to tear at each other. Wait, no. They were tearing at Shui Zhantian. Poor Shui Zhantian. He was clearly a round ball, but he was being pulled into an oval shape. All of you, stop before you go too far. I, Shui Zhantian, will never submit to anyone. I won't accept you humans as my master, even if I die. Just give up on this stupid idea. Shui Zhantian's eyes were glowing, and he bared his little canine teeth in a menacing yet adorable grin. A bunch of snow soul beasts ran over to rescue their boss, only to be kicked aside by Lin and Lu Chuchu like a rubber ball. It was quite clear that all of their attention was focused on Shui Zhantian. That's true. We can only establish a contract with beast pets if both parties agree to it. Why don't we let Shui Zhantian choose for himself? Lu Chuchu suggested, and Lin paused momentarily before nodding in agreement to Lu Chuchu's suggestion. Tina and Ling Ying didn't say anything as they looked on at the two of them. Ling Ying was completely uninterested in the snow soul beasts. She had a different sense of beauty. She preferred creatures with many long and slender tentacles, such as the octopus princess of the West Sea. If it weren't for the fact that snow soul beasts were legendary beast pets with extremely powerful ice-type Dao roots, she wouldn't have ventured into a place like this. I was the one who suggested this, so I'll be the first person to tame it. Lu Chuchu interjected. And Lin thought about this for a moment before deciding that there was no point in continuing to argue. He was very confident in Shui Zhantian, and he knew that it definitely wouldn't be tamed by someone as arrogant as Lu Chuchu, so he nodded in agreement. A joyful smile appeared on Lu Chuchu's face as she stroked Shui Zhantian's soft, pristine fur. Little Tintin, Shui Zhantian and Enlin shuddered at the same time. Can you be my beast pet? I'll love you dearly, and I'll play with you every day. If you want any clothes, weapons, toys, or pills, I can make them for you. Lu Chuchu spoke in a mellow voice, and her yellow eyes were filled with gentleness and doting. I, Shui Zhantian, would rather die than submit, so don't waste your time. Shui Zhantian's reply was extremely firm, and Lin was quite pleased to hear this. This was Lin's beast pet. He had a temper. Lu Chuchu was not disappointed. If you agree to be my beast pet, I can promise to release all of the other snow soul beasts. PFFF. And Lin threw up a mouthful of blood. Really? Shui Zhantian's eyes lit up. They were currently at the mercy of Lu Chuchu. If Lu Chuchu could release the rest of the snow soul beasts, then perhaps it could consider becoming Lu Chuchu's beast pet. Fake, of course it's fake. And Lin snatched Shui Zhantian out of Lu Chuchu's arms with an enraged expression. You're going too far. Even if this Shui Zhantian is the cutest, you can't just give up on all of the other snow soul beasts. Have you thought about how everyone else would feel? Lu Chuchu pursed her lips. If these little snow soul beasts don't accept me as their master, then I can't take them back to the Tai Chu continent. I'll just pay you guys some money. Hee hee. Do you believe that I can make all of them accept me as their master? And Lin chuckled coldly. Then do it. Lu Chuchu refused to give in. And Lin turned to Shui Zhantian and the other 11 snow soul beasts, and a cruel smile appeared on his face. Chapter 515. A mysterious smile appeared on Lin's face, and the 12 snow soul beasts were suddenly struck by a sense of foreboding. He brought out 12 steamers of stuffed buns and distributed them to all the snow soul beasts. The delicious aroma of the stuffed buns wafted through the entire space, and even Lu Chuchu and the others couldn't help but swallow involuntarily, let alone the snow soul beasts. These are stuffed buns, ignore by to buy. Have a taste, he said. The snow soul beasts were unable to resist this temptation, and they immediately began to chomp down on the buns. He didn't know if he didn't eat it, but once he did, his whole body exploded. He couldn't stop. The snow soul beasts instantly wiped out all of the stuffed buns in the steamers before turning to Lin with insatiable expressions. Follow me, and you'll be able to eat these delicious stuffed buns every day. And Lin extended an olive branch. This was a very effective way to attract the attention of many snow soul beasts, and they instantly expressed their agreement. However, there were also some who were hesitant, including Shui Zhantian, who refused with a firm expression. Right at this moment, Lin spoke again, and his voice was as cold as the wind that had been frozen for 10,000 years. Submit to me, and you'll have stuffed buns to eat or die. He also activated his divine might technique at this moment. A golden light flashed through his eyes as golden ripples proliferated through the air, and his paramount aura swept toward the 12 snow soul beasts. The power of the snow soul beasts had already been sealed, so they were looking at Lin as if they were looking at a mighty divine king. This divine king was looking down upon them, giving them the choice of submitting, living, or dying. All of the snow soul beasts were about to piss themselves in fear. In particular, Shui Zhantian, who loved to crush the heavens and crush the heavens, had been completely intimidated by Lin's peerless aura. It stared up at Lin with its big, round eyes, and it was on the verge of saying I do. Lu Chuchu was also astonished. Never would she have thought that Lin would be even more shameless than her. How could Lin say such cruel things to such adorable snow soul beasts? Lin, you've gone too far. The snow soul beasts are so adorable. How could you scare them like that? Lu Chuchu couldn't help but yell with rage. I'm serious. What's your choice? Lin looked down at the snow soul beasts on the ground with an indifferent expression, and his voice sounded like it was descending from the heavens. It was ethereal, profound, and dignified. Yeah. A bunch of snow soul beasts rolled around Lin as they flapped their wings incessantly. So this is coercion and bribery. I'm willing. Shui Zhantian spoke with a hint of humiliation and reverence in his voice. Yeah, the 11 snow soul beasts yelled in unison. Lu Chuchu's eyes widened with incredulity as she stared at the snow soul beasts before her. Agreed? The snow soul beasts actually agreed. They were actually willing to recognize such a cruel person as their master. Hee, it's just that it consumes a little blood essence. And Lin chuckled. He formed a hand seal and cut his finger. 12 drops of golden blood flew toward 12 different snow soul beasts. A pet beast contract was an equal contract that could only be established if both parties were willing. If one of them was resistant, they would not be able to successfully establish such a contract. The 12 drops of golden blood fell onto the heads of the snow soul beasts at Lin's command. If the blood essence could seep into the bodies of the snow soul beasts, then the contract had been established. Lin stared at the snow soul beasts with a nervous expression before his heart sank. This was because he could see that his blood essence wasn't absorbed by the snow soul beast's head at all. The golden blood on the snow soul beast's head glowed with a dazzling light. To Enlin, this was a critical strike. How could this be? Enlin's eyes dimmed as he murmured to himself. A vibrant smile appeared on Lu Chuchu's face. Ha! You can't force someone to do something like this. You won't be able to gain true loyalty and sincerity through this method. Her voice had only just fallen when a loud thump sounded. Enlin and Lu Chuchu turned toward Shui Zhantian, and they drew a sharp intake of breath. How could this be? Lu Chuchu's body swayed slightly, and the light in her eyes dimmed as she murmured to herself. Enlin was ecstatic as he ran over to Shui Zhantian. Ah, Shui Zhantian, I love you to death. A faint blush appeared on Shui Zhantian's face as he bared his canines. Don't get too carried away. I didn't really want to acknowledge you as my master, and I wasn't attracted by your aura either. I was forced to do this. You're so adorable. You're always right. And Lin picked Shui Zhantian up and rubbed his face against his snowy white fur. Lu Chuchu clasped her hands over her chest with grief and disappointment on her face. She knew that Shui Zhantian's claim that he was forced to do this wasn't true. After all, both parties had to agree to establish a pet beast contract. Under normal circumstances, the Snow Soul Beast should have been resistant to Enlin's forceful methods. But who would have thought that Shui Zhantian wouldn't reject him? This was simply incredible. Shui Zhantian, can you persuade your underlings to join my beast pet team? Enlin asked excitedly as he held Shui Zhantian in his arms. Shui Zhantian flapped his wings before replying, "Don't waste your energy. Snow Soul beasts like us mature very late due to our extremely powerful ice-type Dao roots and the nourishment provided by the hanging ice lake. As such, we won't be able to sign beast pet contracts with you before we reach a high level of intelligence." Oh, and Lin came to a sudden realization. No wonder his 11 drops of blood essence had failed. So this was the reason. Lu Chuchu's body swayed unsteadily upon hearing this. So this was the reason why Enlin had failed, not because of the Snow Soul Beast resistance. Enlin turned to Lu Chuchu with an apologetic expression. "I'm sorry. I didn't think things would turn out like this." The corners of Lu Chuchu's lips twitched as a blank expression appeared on her face. She was unable to describe what she was feeling at that moment. The beast pet she wanted the most was Shui Zhantian. Now that Shui Zhantian was gone, she could accept any other Snow Soul beasts. But now, she found out that she was unable to establish beast pet contracts with the other Snow Soul beasts. She still didn't know how to grieve over the fact that all her efforts were in vain. Is there really no way? Is there any way I can help them improve their intelligence? I really want to carry one home. Lu Chuchu pouted as she looked down at the Snow Soul beasts on the ground with a pitiable expression. Shui Zhantian chuckled coldly. "Ha, woman, seeing as you've just offered to spare the rest of the Snow Soul beasts, I'll be merciful enough to tell you a way to turn the tide." Lu Chuchu's eyes lit up, and she asked in a panicked voice, "What is it?" Shui Zhantian pointed to one of the Snow Soul beasts with his wing. "This is my little brother, Shui Patian, and he's at the true power final stage. He's on the brink of a breakthrough. And if you can help him progress to the pinnacle of the true power final stage, his intelligence will definitely mature, and you could try to make him accept you as his master." Progress. Lu Chuchu's brows furrowed as she thought to herself for a moment before bringing out 3 immortal fruits imbued with the power of frost. "These are 8th grade immortal fruits that I obtained after killing 2 snow maidens, snow essence wolf fruits. If you agree to become my beast pet, I'll give them to you. How's that sound?" Enlin swallowed upon hearing this. She had even killed 2 soul formation stage snow maidens. Just how many people had she killed in the ancient Tai Chu realm? Shui Patian stared at the 8th grade immortal fruits with an expression of yearning as he rolled around on the ground while flapping his wings. I'll take that as a yes." Lu Chuchu handed a snow essence wolf fruit to Shui Patian. Shui Patian opened his mouth and began to munch on the fruit. After finishing the fruit, He stared at Lu Chu Chu with his big, round eyes, which were shimmering with a faint blue light. Good boy. Lu Chu Chu stroked Shui Potion's hand as she handed him the second snow essence wolf fruit. Shui Patian eagerly picked up the snow essence wolf fruit and continued to munch on it, but he was still yearning for more. Lu Chu Chu's brows furrowed slightly at the sight of the snow soul beast cultivation base, and she handed him the third snow essence wolf fruit. Shui Patian also finished the third snow essence wolf fruit, and the chubby ball of fur circled around Lu Chu Chu excitedly. Lu Chu Chu's heart was throbbing with pain. Had she fed all three immortal fruits to a dog? Why hadn't the snow soul beast experienced any change? And Lin coughed lightly upon seeing Lu Chu Chu's expression. Ahem, did you forget to undo the seal on your power? And that's why the snow soul beast is unable to make a breakthrough? Ah, how could I have forgotten about that? Lu Chu Chu's eyes lit up. She immediately snapped her fingers, and a golden light suddenly erupted from Shui Potion's round body. Immediately following, which his aura began to soar explosively. Boom! Shui Patian seemed to have broken through some kind of shackle, and a frosty aura began to emanate from his body. My little brother has already reached the pinnacle of the final stage. Shui Zhantian's eyes lit up slightly. Lu Chu Chu made a series of hand seals before slicing open a gash on Shui Potion's arm. Blood essence flew toward Shui Patian as she spoke in a gentle voice. Shui Patian, come with me. I'll take you on a killing spree so you can eat more fruits. How domineering, Shui Zhantian praised. And Lin nodded. This was the Lu Chu Chu he knew. Shui Patian had clearly been won over by the immortal fruit, and he excitedly absorbed Lu Chu Chu's blood essence. Lu Chu Chu hugged Shui Patian with an elated expression. You're so adorable. I'm going to make you even cuter than Shui Zhantian. Let's start with your name. I'm going to change your name from Shui Patian to Shui Mingming from now on. Yeah. Shui Mingming shook his head from side to side, as if he was very pleased with his new name. And Lin, Shui Zhantian was enraged. How dare you? How dare you disrespect your elders? How dare you abandon the name I gave you? And you're so happy. I feel like I've raised a fake little brother. Chapter 516. Lu Chu Chu pursed her lips and ignored Shui Zhantian's enraged words. Instead, she turned to the other 10 snow soul beasts with a forlorn expression. Are we going to leave these snow soul beasts behind? They're very adorable, so it's a pity to leave them here. And Lin shrugged. I can't sign beast pet contracts with them, so I can't bring them back to the Taichu continent. Sigh. Lu Chu Chu looked at the snow soul beast with a hint of longing in her eyes before squatting down. You have to grow up and cultivate hard. Big sister will come to find you in 500 years, and then I'll take you on a trip to a new world. You have to wait for me to come back, all right? And Lin looked at Lu Chu Chu with a speechless expression. 500 years? How could she think about something so far in the future? All of the snow soul beasts chirped incessantly around Lu Chu Chu, and Shui Mingming also chirped with reluctance on its face, as if it were bidding farewell to Lu Chu Chu. Only Shui Zhantian's style was different. He immediately recited a poem, A Bosom Friend in the Sea, a Neighbor in the Distance. After successfully harvesting the beast pet, Lu Chu Chu removed the restrictions on the other snow soul beasts and bade farewell to them. After a short while, Lin and the others decided to leave the hanging ice lake. After all, that place was simply too cold, and no one with a special constitution would be able to withstand it. Hongdo was carried out of the cave by Ling Ying's tentacles, and Lin used his divine flame to defrost Hongdo with a resigned expression. Due to the fact that Hongdo had left the glacial realm, his flame of life began to dissipate, and he regained consciousness. He looked at Lin and Lu Chu Chu, as well as the adorable round snow soul beast flying beside them, with a confused expression. Did I miss something? It asked curiously. And Lin couldn't be bothered to explain, and he shook his head. Let's go. The Qing dynasty has already fallen. Thus, everyone began their search for realm essence crystals again. Next, we'll go to the main peak of the heavenly snow abyss mountain. That's the place closest to the heavenly abyss, and there's a very high chance that realm essence crystals will appear there. And Lin pulled out a small map and marked out a few important locations before speaking. The heavenly snow abyss snow mountain was not very far from where they were, only about 1,000 miles away. Therefore, from where they were, they could vaguely see the shocking crack in the sky. The closer he got, the more he could feel the darkness and depth of the crack. It was impossible to tell what was inside the crack. It was like a giant mouth that could devour everything, emitting the aura of chaos and destruction. After flying for a while, Lu Chu chose the summit of a mountain and used her eye technique to survey the surroundings of the main peak of the heavenly snow abyss mountain. She was the best scout in Lin's team. She could investigate the surrounding environment to the greatest extent, discover the enemy's tracks in advance, and seize the opportunity to defeat the enemy. Lu Chu stood at the summit of a tall mountain, and after casting her gaze into the distance, her eyes quickly converged on the summit of the main mountain with an extremely surprised expression on her face. There was a hint of mockery in her voice. "Oh, there's a battle on the summit. It's a battle between ghosts," and Lin blinked in confusion. "What do you mean by a battle between ghosts?" "There are 4 lizard dragons battling 6 snow maidens near the summit. TSK, TSK, TSK. These lizard dragons are so powerful. The snow maidens are no match for them at all." Lu Chu's expression was one of schadenfreude, and Lin came to a sudden realization. The lizard dragons were part of the dragon tribe of the western heavenly dragon forest, and they were also enemies of the celestial court. They had extremely rich resources, and their inheritances were very complete, so all of them were extremely powerful. All of them were able to take on many enemies at the same cultivation base. In that case, after the lizard dragons kill those 6 snow maidens, we'll be able to reap the spoils of war. 10 storage rings. Lu Chu's eyes were already glowing with excitement as she spoke, and Lin knew that Lu Chu's occupational disease was acting up again. However, he didn't say anything this time. He didn't have a good impression of the snow maidens to begin with, and he didn't feel anything other than curiosity after learning about the battle between the 2 opposing powers. Even his friend Shangguan, he had been captured by the snow maidens. So how could he have any other feelings toward the snow maidens who were about to be killed by the western heavenly dragon? Wait, Shangguan, and Lin's expression faltered as a thought suddenly occurred to him. If the ancient divine division could allow snow maidens of the soul formation stage to enter, then could Shangguan, who was a soul formation final stage powerful being, have also entered this place? Meanwhile, on the main peak of the heavenly snow abyss mountain, an inky black dragon over 100 feet in length with gale force winds revolving around its body tore through the ice crystal defenses of one of the snow maidens with terrifying might before mercilessly tearing her body apart. "Ha ha! I'll gladly accept the energy essence of this snow maiden." A cruel smile appeared on the black dragon's face as it swallowed the snow maiden that had been slain. "I swear I'm going to kill you." Palace leader Chi flapped her wings of ice and snow as she abruptly pounced toward the black dragon. She made a hand seal toward the black dragon, upon which the blue ancient seal expanded in size before instantly vanquishing the gale force winds around the black dragon's body before crashing into his body. Boom! The black dragon's body caved in upon being struck by the ancient seal, and it flew back with blood gushing from its mouth. Right at this moment, another snow maiden let loose a sharp cry. In that instant, a white dragon wielding a pair of golden swords had already sliced a snow maiden in half. "Palace leader, we have to run. If this continues, we're all going to die here." A petite snow maiden pleaded with Palace leader Chi with a pleading expression on her face. She had no intention of sacrificing herself here. A fear of death engulfed her entire body, and she didn't have much battle intent left in her. Palace leader Chi's expression remained unchanged upon hearing this. "Lu Wei, don't forget our mission. We can't abandon Shangguan Yi. Even if we die, we have to die before Shangguan Yi." Lu Wei pursed her lips with an expression of indignation and remorse on her face. At this moment, The lightning dragon, enshrouded in blue lightning, roared as it pounced toward her at an extremely fast speed. Without Palace Leader Chi's protection, even escaping would be an extravagant hope for her. All that awaited her was death. There was no way out. Lu Wei let loose an enraged roar as she slashed toward the lightning dragon with all her might, only to be knocked flying by the boundless lightning in front of her. Not only was the blue lightning extremely powerful, but it also had the effect of sealing off one's meridians and sea of vital energy, as well as paralyzing one's entire body. She had been wounded by the lightning, and an expression of despair appeared on her face as she looked at the lightning lizard dragon pouncing toward her again. A forlorn smile appeared on her face as she lamented in her heart. In the end, she was just another person's sacrificial offering. However, right at this moment, a figure suddenly appeared before her with golden lightning revolving around his black longsword. The lightning lizard dragon let loose an enraged roar. "You dare to interfere, human? F*CK off. Otherwise, I'll blast you to death." As it spoke, the lightning around its body roared as it pounced toward the white-robed man. The fearsome lightning was imbued with an earth-shattering boom as it lit up the entire sky. A faint smile appeared on the white-robed man's face. "Blast me to death? That's the funniest joke I've heard this year. You still don't know what real lightning is." The man slashed his black longsword through the air toward the lightning lizard dragon, and a golden lightning sword projection imbued with the power to annihilate the void pierced through space. When the sword projection came into contact with the oncoming lightning, the lightning suddenly changed directions as if it had a mind of its own, and it coordinated with the lightning sword projection as it pounced toward the lizard dragon. "No! How is this possible?" The lightning lizard dragon's eyes widened as an expression of shock and disbelief appeared on its face. In the next instant, the golden lightning sliced its bulky body in half, leaving a dazzling trail of golden lightning in its wake as blood splattered through the air. Lu Wei stared blankly at the scene unfolding before her. That man's powerful and confident figure was deeply engraved into her mind. Is that a human? I was saved by a human? Lu Wei felt like she was dreaming. Chapter 517. It was no wonder that Lu Wei would think this way. After all, the Snow Maidens and the humans were enemies. Although it wasn't the kind of vendetta where one side had to wipe out the other, the relationship between the two tribes had never been good. Following the events of the 10,000 Spirits Immortal sect and the Vermilion Bird sect, the conflict between the two tribes had become more and more intense, and it was common for them to fight on sight. It was no wonder that she was dumbstruck that an extremely powerful human had suddenly appeared to save her at a time like this. "Thank you." Lu Wei was momentarily dazed before replying. The man turned sideways and glanced at Lu Wei. His pitch-black and bright eyes were so indifferent that there was not a trace of emotion. He turned toward the massive ice crystal at the center of the mountain, and his expression finally shifted. "It really is you, Sister Shangwani." The man was none other than Enlin, and there was a hint of nostalgia and joy on his face as he looked at the woman meditating within the ice crystal. The woman's eyes were tightly shut, and a blue dress was draped over her snowy skin. Her long black hair had already transformed into the long silver hair of the Snow Maidens, and a black symbol flashed lightly between her brows as she continued to absorb some kind of power from the crack in the ice crystal. "Sister Shangwan, it's me, Enlin." Enlin called from outside. Shangwan Yi's eyelashes trembled slightly, but she didn't open her eyes. "Enlin? He's Enlin?" Lu Wei stared at the man standing not far away with an astonished expression on her face. Enlin's feats had already spread throughout the entire holy glacial lands, and he was a man who had become a legend. Many powerful Snow Maidens believed that he was the main reason why they had failed to obtain the holy flame at the Vermilion Bird sect. Enlin's sudden appearance had alerted both the Snow Maidens and the Lizard Dragons. Enlin, Palace Leader Chi stared at the man standing beside the massive ice crystal with shock and bewilderment on her face. "How dare you kill my brother? Die!" One of the massive flaming dragons was enraged by the death of the lightning dragon, and it couldn't even be bothered to crush the severely wounded snow maiden before it. Instead, it opened its mouth to blast forth boundless crimson flames, which formed a massive wave that swept toward Lin. A small figure tore through the air and rushed in front of Lin at an extremely fast speed. A white longsword waved in the void, and a huge ice-blue lotus instantly formed, enveloping her and Lin. Rumble. The crimson flame waves engulfed the summit, turning it into an endless sea of fire. The ice-blue lotus swayed in the sea of fire, but it didn't melt. Instead, it became even more beautiful and dazzling. Tina, don't worry about me. Hurry up and take care of the rest of the lizard dragons, and Lin said calmly. All right. With a swoosh sound, the tiny figure pierced through the sea of fire and rushed toward the giant flame dragon. You overestimate yourself. The giant flame dragon cackled with rage at the sight of the tiny figure pouncing toward it. It opened its cavernous mouth, and vital energy surged for over a kilometer as fearsome flame power converged toward it. However, right at this moment, two snow soul beasts charged toward the giant flame dragon like shooting stars, and the terrifying power of extreme frost erupted outward, causing the giant flame dragon's movements to falter slightly. Mir. The giant flame dragon didn't even get a chance to finish its sentence before countless white lightning tentacles hurtled through the air before quickly wrapping themselves around its scorching body. A flaming rock golem descended from the sky before striking the giant flame dragon's head with a devastating fist. Boom! A powerful shockwave swept forth in all directions. The giant flame dragon felt its head jolt as excruciating pain shot through its body, and its spell technique was forcibly disrupted. It was also at this moment that the two snow soul beasts had already reached it before unleashing two head-on charges toward its lower abdomen. Snow soul beasts didn't know much else, but their innate ability was brutal charge. The terrifying power imbued with their head-on charges was comparable to a full-force attack from a cultivator at the soul formation pinnacle stage. Boom! The giant flame dragon's abdomen caved in as shockwaves swept forth for several kilometers. Its eyes widened as it threw up a large puddle of flames and blood. The giant flame dragon had only just raised its head when it was greeted by the sight of a scintillating blue sword projection imbued with boundless frost intent. The tiny figure in front of it struck it with an extremely terrifying feeling, and it felt as if death had enveloped its entire body. The giant flame dragon was in despair. With so many powerful beings working together, it was no longer possible for it to retaliate, and it was beaten senseless by the coordinated attacks of so many powerful beings. The blue sword projection fell and sliced open the giant flame dragon's body, ending its life with the power of extreme frost. The white dragon wielding its golden sword slain another snow maiden at lightning speed. Immediately afterward, it exchanged a glance with the black dragon, and both of them chose to flee in unison. Don't even think about running. Palace leader Chi abruptly charged toward the black dragon closest to her. The black dragon roared with rage, and a terrifying wind pressure burst forth in all directions, causing the surrounding mountains to crack open. Even Palace leader Chi was knocked back by the force of the explosion. No one can compare me in terms of speed. The black dragon's body was enshrouded in flowing winds, and it looked at Palace leader Chi with a mocking expression before spreading open its massive wings and flying into the distance. A pink arrow pierced through the air, with crimson lightning imbued with its body. There was still a faint smile on the black dragon's face, but it didn't have time to retract its smile as it turned toward a certain direction, and its pupils contracted slightly. A beam of pink and red light expanded in its field of vision, and everything turned crimson in the blink of an eye before plunging into darkness. The arrow pierced through the black dragon's head, and its massive head was instantly pulverized by the terrifying power of the arrow. All of the snow maidens stared blankly at the scenes unfolding before their eyes, unable to come to their senses. Palace leader Chi looked toward the direction from which the arrow had come, and her body shuddered involuntarily as she exclaimed in shock, I can't detect his aura through my divine sense, and it's out of my field of vision. What a terrifying technique. The dual sword-wielding white dragon unleashed a mystic technique without hesitation upon seeing this, and it fled even faster. Over 10 kilometers away, Lu Chu put down her pink longbow, and her features were slightly pale as she heaved a light sigh of relief. It's a pity that I'm missing a storage ring. She sighed with a slightly forlorn expression. That arrow was already her limit, and the white dragon was simply too fast. If she really wanted to kill the white dragon, she would have to expend all of her energy, and she would also be severely wounded by the backlash, so it wasn't worth it. A tiny figure flew through the air toward the corpses on the ground. Tina had already become a professional collector of storage rings, and she quickly collected the 3 storage rings of the dragon tribe and the 3 storage rings of the snow maidens before flying toward Lin with a wide grin on her face. The faces of the 3 remaining snow maidens convulsed slightly upon seeing Tina looting the corpses, but they didn't dare to say anything. They could only gather together in silence as they looked at Lin and the others with cautious expressions. Lin stowed away the 6 storage rings, and he planned to split the spoils after everything was over. He turned toward the 3 snow maidens with a faint smile. Let's get down to business now. Chapter 5:18. Get down to business. The 3 snow maidens' hearts jolted with shock. They had expended too much energy in order to deal with the dragon tribe. From the power displayed by Lin and the others, they would undoubtedly lose if a battle were to break out. What do you want? Palace leader Qi asked in a cold voice. Lu Wei was also looking at Lin with a nervous expression as she gripped her longsword tightly in case Lin attacked. Lin shook his head with a faint smile. You already know who I am. So can't you guess what I want? If it weren't for Shangwan, all of you would be dead now. He clasped his hands behind his back. So, I'm going to start asking questions now. Number 1, what is Shangwan doing in the crystal? The 3 snow maidens stared at Lin with cold expressions. Lin, are you really going to give me no face? This is a confidential matter of our tribe, so I can't tell you. Palace leader Qi replied with a determined expression. You won't tell me even if you die? Lin asked. I won't tell you even if I die. Palace leader Qi stared at Lin with a determined expression. Lin's eyes narrowed as killing intent radiated from his body. At the same time, a golden light flashed through his eyes as golden ripples proliferated outward. Lu Wei and the other snow maidens' bodies immediately tensed up as they stared at Lin. It was as if they were looking at a paramount being, sending chills running down their spines. Even so, they still gritted their teeth and refused to say anything. Shui Zhantian's body also began to tremble as he sensed Lin's aura. It's here. Master's invincible aura is here. I will definitely be able to break through the heavens with him. Lin heaved an internal sigh upon seeing the snow maidens' reactions. If it weren't for the fact that he was worried that all of the snow maidens would die and Shangwan would be trapped in the crystal, he would have given up on these snow maidens a long time ago. Thus, the 2 parties stood in midair in a stalemate. Lu Wei's eyes lingered on Shui Zhantian and Shui Mengmeng with scorching desire in her eyes. Those were snow soul beasts. They were the beast pets of her dreams. It's really too cute. I really want to touch it. It was a pity that she couldn't do anything on her own during this mission. Otherwise, she would definitely try to capture a snow soul beast for herself. Lin, what should we do next? Ling Ying floated towards Lin and asked. Lin's head was starting to throb. Even the snow maidens didn't choose to flee in the face of such powerful dragon tribe cultivators, so he could tell that this wasn't something that could be resolved through brute force alone. Why don't we just smash open the crystal? Hong Do suggested. Lin's lips twitched, and he shot a glance at Hong Do before falling silent. If this be Astra's star was responsible for saving Shangwan, she would definitely suffer from qi deviation. Then let me ask you another question. What is Shangwan Yi's status in your world? Lin asked again. Lu Wei smiled upon hearing this. You don't need to worry about that. She's Mengji now, Pa. Palace Lord Qi slapped the back of Lu Wei's hand and glared at her angrily. She immediately lowered her head like a deflated balloon and fell silent. Lin rolled his eyes upon seeing this, But he didn't give up. How long will Shangwan Yi be in this state for? How long will it take for her to come out? The three snow maidens remained silent. And Lin continued, Let's get to know each other first. What are your names? The three snow maidens. Palace Lord Qi thought for a moment before replying. My name is Qi Yao. If you're planning to take Shangwan Yi away, then I suggest you stop wasting your time. She has already officially joined the holy glacial lands and is cultivating the cultivation methods of our snow maidens. Furthermore, she can be considered a member of our race. And Lin splayed his hands open. You don't need to worry about that. I'll ask her myself. A crisp crack sounded at this moment, as if in response to Lin's words. Crack, a circular hole suddenly appeared in the crystal, and blue ripples proliferated outward, causing the surrounding temperature to plummet. And Lin and the other snow maidens all turned to look at the crystal with excitement on their faces. Shangwan Yi made her way out of the circular hole, and her blue dress danced in the wind, making her appear as if she were a blue lotus in full bloom. She opened her golden eyes, and a faint regal might emanated from her body, as if she were a regal and inviolable queen. Congratulations on your successful awakening, Sister Shangwan. A vibrant smile appeared on Qi Yao's face. Sister Shangwan, I'm here to take you back. Enlin also waved a hand with a smile. Shangwan Yi looked up at Enlin with a cold expression and shook her head. Thank you for saving me, Enlin, but I'm already a member of the Holy Glacial Lands, and I won't be going back. Enlin faltered slightly upon hearing this. Have you encountered some kind of problem that you can't resolve? It's all right, I'll help you. That's not the reason. I'm doing this voluntarily, so don't ask me. Shangwan Yi shook her head before making her way toward Qi Yao and the others without any hesitation on her face. Enlin gritted his teeth. Didn't you say that the Vermilion Bird sect has always been your home? There's so many people waiting for you to come back, so why didn't you come back? Why did you choose to join the enemy of the sect? Shangwan Yi's footsteps faltered slightly as her golden eyes rippled, and her slender fingers trembled slightly. Enemy of the sect, huh? People change, and it's not impossible for friends and family to become enemies. She turned to Enlin with a smile on her face. Thank you very much for your help, but let's be clear about who we stand on in the future. You're humans, and I'm a snow maiden, so don't act like this again the next time we meet. Palace Leader Qi, let's go. She turned to leave without looking at Enlin as she spoke. The three snow maidens glanced at Enlin and the others before flying toward Shangwan Yi. Wait, Enlin's voice sounded again. Shangwan Yi and the snow maidens both looked at him with confusion in their eyes. Qi Yao spoke in a cold voice. Shangwan Yi has already made things so clear. What else do you want? Leave your storage rings behind. Enlin spoke with a serious expression. The three snow maidens. Oh, Shangwan Yi doesn't need them, Enlin added. Shangwan, what do you want our storage rings for? Qi Yao stared at Enlin with astonishment on her face. Of course, do you think I don't need money to fight for you? Leave your storage rings behind, or we'll use force, Enlin threatened in a cold voice. Ling Ying, Hong Do, and the two snow soul beasts flew off in different directions as he spoke, clearly intending to use force. Qi Yao's lips twitched slightly. She clearly didn't expect things to turn out like this. The other two snow maidens were also dumbstruck as they stared blankly at Enlin. Couldn't they just part ways? Why did he suddenly have to rob them? Shangwan Yi heaved a forlorn sigh. Palace Leader Qi, we're too weak. Qi Yao glared at Enlin with resentment in her eyes, as if she was trying to carve his face into her heart. Here. She pulled out her storage ring and tossed it toward Enlin. Lu Wei looked at Enlin with tears welling up in her eyes. Never would she have thought that this human would even want her storage ring. Where was his integrity? Where was his demeanor as a powerful being? She silently pulled out her storage ring and tossed it toward Enlin as a certain image in her heart crumbled. The other snow maiden could only hand over her storage ring to Enlin upon seeing this, and her chest was trembling with rage. All right, bye. Enlin waved a hand with a satisfied expression, indicating that they could leave. There was another reason why he was willing to let Shangwan Yi leave so easily, and that was because Shangguan Yi would be betraying the holy glacial lands if she followed him. However, Shangguan Yi's teleportation talisman teleported her to the holy glacial lands. If she really did betray them, what were they going to do when they got back? That's definitely going to be the end. Thus, he had to take things slowly. He would just have to get some benefit from the Snow Maidens and express his attitude. The three Snow Maidens left with dark expressions, as if they had just swallowed a fly. They swore in their hearts that if they ever encountered Lin again, they would definitely kill this bastard and take back their storage rings. Chapter 519. Shangguan Yi rose into the air atop her sword with the three Snow Maidens by her side. Their mission had been completed, and all they had to do now was protect Shangguan Yi and wait for their return. And Lin looked on as Shangguan Yi departed, and he couldn't help but heave a forlorn sigh as he thought back to her tragic past. He was convinced that Shangguan Yi didn't stay in the holy glacial lands willingly. But what could he do for her? A pink streak of light was quickly approaching them from the distance. Lu Chu couldn't wait to split the spoils of war, and Lin brought out 6 storage rings, 3 from the Dragon Tribe and 3 from the Snow Maidens. Due to the fact that it was in Lin and Tina's turn to choose their storage rings, he received 2 storage rings from the Lizard Dragon and 1 storage ring from the Snow Maiden. Lu Chu received 1 from the Dragon Tribe, while Ling Ying and Hong Do each received 1 from the Snow Maidens. Lu Chu could have chosen the Snow Maiden storage rings, but she had killed many people for their treasures, and she knew that Snow Maidens were generally very poor, while dragons were generally very wealthy. So she chose the Lizard Dragon storage ring instead. And Lin was very impressed by Lu Chu's judgment. He was the man with the most authority when it came to the Snow Maiden storage rings. After all, he was the man who had obtained 5 return to Void Stage Snow Maiden storage rings. However, before everyone even had a chance to inspect their storage rings, a violent tremor swept through heaven and earth. Not only was the earth quaking, but the entire space was also quaking. What's going on? And Lin's expression shifted as he surveyed his surroundings with a cautious expression. Giant and Lin, look above us. Tina screamed as she tugged on Lin's hair. Everyone looked up into the sky, and their mouths gaped open. The inky black rift in the sky seemed to have been torn apart by some kind of power, and the rift began to expand like a ferocious beast opening its massive mouth. Run! And Lin immediately yelled as he fled from the rift without any hesitation. Heaven and earth were still trembling, and an invisible force crashed into everyone's bodies. This was the power of laws that could destroy everything in this world. Even though everyone used spell techniques to defend themselves, it was useless. This was because the power of the law could penetrate through all things in this world and directly affect living beings. The only thing Lin and the others could do was try their best to get as far away from the crack as possible. However, the crack was expanding at a terrifying speed. It was like a black rubber ball that had been compressed to the extreme had suddenly lost its pressure and began to expand and explode without restraint. The fissures expanded wantonly, reaching hundreds of kilometers in an instant. The sky where the purple and blue lights were intersecting began to shatter like fragments before collapsing, leaving behind only endless darkness and nothingness. A terrifying power began to spread throughout the world, tearing apart the void and annihilating the earth, and Lin and the others were all affected by this power. Their bodies and internal organs were affected by the power of the rule collapse and began to break apart. And Lin felt a chill in his heart, and an unconcealable look of despair appeared on his face. Their flying speed was far slower than the speed at which the crack was expanding. If this continued, they would all die, and Lin could vaguely guess what they had encountered. This was the collapse of the continent. The ancient Taichu realm had been reduced to 1/100th of its original size, and the collapse was still ongoing. It was extremely unfortunate that they had encountered something like this. What kind of King luck was this? Wah! Giant and Lin, the outside world is so scary. Is this the end of the world? Tina tugged on his hair, and her body trembled uncontrollably at the sight of the world collapsing around her. Don't worry, we'll be able to get out of here. And Lin offered words of consolation. Wah! Tina was still sobbing when she suddenly opened her mouth. Erg! Blood splattered onto Enlin's shoulder. Enlin, Shuejantian flew beside Enlin with an extremely emotional expression. Who would have thought that the sky would collapse on its own before I could even slay it? Sigh. Who would have thought that the sky would be so fragile? I've instantly lost my goal. Who should I slay in the future? Shuejantian suddenly turned toward Enlin as he spoke, and a peculiar light flashed through his eyes. Master, I think you're very powerful. Erg. Shuejantian's voice had only just fallen when he threw up a large mouthful of blood. He had clearly been severely wounded by the power of laws. And Lin, the sky was collapsing, the void was shattering, the chaotic wind of destruction swept across, and the earth was collapsing and vanishing. Everything that could be seen was ruins and destruction, and there was no hope at all. The black rift had already become a gargantuan mouth of darkness that engulfed all things. The terrifying power of laws eroded everyone's bodies, drawing them closer and closer to death. What was despair? Despair was the feeling that the entire world was being destroyed, and they were trapped in this cage of destruction. No matter how hard they tried, they couldn't escape from this world. The destruction continued, and even though everyone couldn't see where the sky was, they still flew forward with all their might in an attempt to fight for that slim chance of survival. All of a sudden, Enlin caught sight of a flash of light in the darkness in the distance. It was like the light of hope at the dawn of chaos, and his body shuddered. Fly in that direction. Enlin roared as he turned around and flew toward the source of the light. Everyone immediately followed after Enlin as they flew toward the source of the faint light. As they drew closer and closer, they were finally able to see where the light was coming from. It was a mountain, a gargantuan mountain that was hanging upside down in the boundless darkness. The entire mountain glowed with specks of light, as if it were the dazzling stars in the night sky. Everyone felt as if they were on the brink of death from thirst in the desert, only to suddenly see an oasis, and boundless hope welled up in their hearts. They didn't hesitate any longer as they unleashed all of their power and charged toward the gargantuan mountain. The fact that the gargantuan mountain was able to remain unscathed in such a terrifying environment was a clear indication of how special the mountain was. How could they give up on this only opportunity to escape from disaster? Right at this moment, the glowing gargantuan mountain suddenly became more and more indistinct, as if it were a mirage. Tears began to flow from Lu Chuchu's eyes. They had been so king happy that they thought they could survive, only to discover that it was all fake. Was it an illusion? And Lin didn't give up as he charged toward the gargantuan mountain. He arrived at the pinnacle of the gargantuan mountain that was hanging upside down in the sky before charging toward it. Boom! A terrifying power instantly enshrouded his body, and he felt as if the space around him were rippling. Immediately afterward, he was struck by a sense of dizziness as the space around him began to tear and twist. Tina and Shuejantian held onto Enlin tightly as they screamed at the top of their lungs before falling unconscious. Lu Chuchu, Hong Do, Ling Ying, and Xuan Mengmeng all charged toward the gargantuan mountain upon seeing this, and their bodies disappeared amid a burst of spatial ripples. The crumbling of heaven and earth continued. Soon, the space around them began to completely shatter as chaos engulfed everything in its path. The earth was reduced to nothingness, and all matter and life forms began to dissipate before transforming into a burst of energy that dissipated into nothingness. Chapter 520. Enlin woke up from his daze to discover that something was pressing down on his stomach. He reached out to push the thing aside, only to find that it was soft and furry, as if he had just slapped away a warm ball of fur. What an arrogant scoundrel! How dare you attack your Lord Jean Tian? A crisp murmur sounded, as if it were still in a dream. Enlin was a little speechless as he kicked Shuejantian a few times to wake him up. Jine and Lin, where are we? Tina also slowly woke up and looked around with confusion on her face. she was greeted by the sight of an immeasurably tall black mountain. She raised her head to discover that there was no end to the black mountain. It was as if it extended all the way into the starry sky, and there were specks of starlight on the surface of the inky black mountain, creating an extremely dreamy and beautiful sight to behold. So beautiful. Is this the Star Mountain? Tina muttered to herself as she stared blankly at the majestic mountain in front of her, as if she had just learned a lot. And Lin's body shuddered upon hearing this. The Star Mountain. Could this be the huge starry mountain that Emperor Ziwei had mentioned? His eyes widened as he looked up at the gargantuan mountain. Its appearance matched the description he had heard in his memory, and his heart surged with excitement. The elusive giant mountain had appeared right in front of him, and it had become the last straw to save his life in a time of absolute despair when heaven and earth were collapsing. And Lin felt like he had to figure this out. So he looked around himself. Aside from Shui Zhantian and Tina, Lu Chuchu, Ling Ying, Hong Do, and Shui Mingming were all nowhere to be seen. Could it be that they had been teleported somewhere else because they didn't come in physical contact with him? He was leaning toward this explanation as everyone else was following him, so there was no reason for them to be excluded by the huge starry mountain. As for the other possibility that they had perished along with the collapse of heaven and earth, he didn't even dare to think about it. And Lin turned his gaze behind him and was greeted by the sight of a series of mountains that stretched as far as the eye could see. These mountains were all inky black in color, and even though they were also quite tall, they were still a far cry from the huge starry mountain. The sky was then filled with countless stars, all of which were extremely dazzling. Wait, something's not right. He looked at the resplendent starry sky. The starlight was extremely clear and real, as if there was no barrier between the two. The power of the stars could be transmitted to this world without any obstruction. Why is it like this? I feel like the sky here is different. And Lin murmured. And Lin shook his head and didn't think too much about it. He woke up Shui Zhantian and brought out 3 golden immortal fruits from his storage ring before giving one each to Shui Zhantian and Tina. After experiencing the collapse of heaven and earth, their bodies were actually very seriously injured. Their flesh, bones, meridians, and even their chi seas were all severely damaged. If they were allowed to recover naturally, it might take more than 10 days or even a month. At a time like this, an 8th grade immortal fruit that contained an extremely strong life force was extremely important. It could heal these kinds of injuries extremely quickly. And Lin was already treating Shui Zhantian and Tina as one of his own, so he naturally wasn't going to be stingy at a time like this. He brought out all 3 of his remaining golden immortal fruits. Shui Zhantian and Tina were both extremely touched, and they began to chew on the immortal fruits with excitement. And Lin also began to chew on the immortal fruit in his hand. Rich life force energy spread through his body, and his wounds were healed in a frenzy by the effects of his evergreen technique. After eating the immortal fruit, Shui Zhantian lay down on the ground with an excited expression. A blue frosty aura emanated from his round body, and he seemed to be inhaling and exhaling. This fruit really is a miraculous elixir. My body feels extremely comfortable after taking a single bite. Master is so kind, generous, and generous. Shui Zhantian was full of praise. And Lin, Tina was small, so she ate slowly. She was taking small bites from the side. Thankfully, her digestive system was quite good. Otherwise, she would be able to eat such a large fruit for an entire day. Tina also wore a satisfied expression after eating the golden immortal fruit, and a faint smile appeared on her face as she rubbed her tiny stomach. No, I feel like my body is being guided by some kind of power. Tina's eyes widened in astonishment. And Lin and Shui Zhantian turned toward Tina to discover that a dazzling golden light had suddenly erupted from her body. This was an extremely holy and pure power. Little Na, how do you feel? Do you feel uncomfortable? And Lin asked in a panicked voice. Tina blinked with a confused expression before shaking her head. I'm fine. I feel like my entire body is very light, as if some kind of shackle has been broken, And I'm about to fly. About to fly? And Lin was even more astonished upon hearing this. Right at this moment, a resounding boom suddenly erupted in the starry sky above Tina. Immediately afterward, a white vortex with a radius of several kilometers appeared, and vital energy surged for several dozen kilometers, creating an extremely powerful sight to behold. Enlin and Shui Zhantian's eyes widened upon seeing this, and a thought surfaced in their minds. Ding-ling! A crisp sound reverberated through the air, and a tall and mighty white figure slowly flew out from the vortex before appearing in the sky. He had a head of golden hair, pointy ears, and emerald eyes. He was indescribably handsome, as if his face and body had been constructed from all the beautiful things in this world. Holy Fairy Leader, Tina stared up at the being in the sky with a dazed expression as she murmured to herself. The being referred to as the Holy Fairy Leader turned toward Tina and pointed a finger at her as he chanted in an unknown language. Even though Enlin couldn't understand what he was saying, the voice was like the most pleasant music in the world, making him feel extremely comfortable as it lingered in his ears. After an indeterminate period of time, the Holy Fairy Leader began to dissipate, and the white vortex also began to disappear. Enlin came to his senses, and a hint of disappointment appeared on his face at the sight of the Holy Fairy Leader's disappearance. Little Na, are you feeling better now? Enlin turned toward Tina, but his words got stuck in his throat before he could finish. Shui Zhantian also came to his senses, and he was also given a massive fright as he turned toward Tina. Unbelievable! Unbelievable! Both man and beast's eyes widened as they stared at the spot where Tina had disappeared, and they swallowed involuntarily. The spot where Tina had been standing had already been replaced by a white ball. The ball seemed to be constructed from some kind of silver thread, and it was still glowing with a faint light. Tina has become an egg again. Shui Zhantian was astonished, and Lin's lips twitched. Fairies aren't oviparous beings. He carefully picked up the white ball and placed it in his pocket before sealing it with a spell technique. I don't know why Tina has become like this, but it's probably a good thing. The Holy Fairy Leader that had just appeared was simply too perfect. There was no way such a beautiful fairy would do anything bad. And Lin was obsessed with appearances, so he could only come up with this conclusion. In reality, he was more inclined to believe that Tina had obtained some inheritance or made some kind of breakthrough in her cultivation base. After all, Tina was already at the pinnacle of the holy rank, which was equivalent to the soul formation pinnacle stage on the Tai Chu continent. Fairies were extremely sensitive to the power of nature, and she had mentioned that her cultivation base had been slightly shaken after eating a first-grade spirit pill. Furthermore, the golden immortal fruit was imbued with an extremely potent power of life, so perhaps it had helped Tina progress in her cultivation base. However, didn't breakthroughs require tribulation transcendence? What was this about transforming into a silver ball? Lin was a little unsure. He suddenly heaved a long sigh before shaking his head to dispel this train of thought. Instead, he looked up at the majestic mountain before him. So be it. Let's explore this mountain first. Chapter 5:21. Prior to coming here, Emperor Zui had entrusted Lin with the task of collecting a stardust fruit from the huge starry mountain if he came across it. This huge mountain was most likely the legendary huge starry mountain. Thus, Lin's goal became very clear, and that was to find the stardust fruit. Lin slowly flew around the mountain. He was in no hurry to rush toward the summit. Instead, he circled around the waist of the mountain to survey his surroundings. After all, there was no guarantee that the stardust fruit would appear at the summit. Rocks, cliffs, small protruding peaks. Everything on the huge mountain was pitch black, which was exactly why the white light was so dazzling. It was as if the mountain were a vast expanse of night, and the white light were the stars in the night sky, creating a dazzling sight to behold. And Lin arrived before a piece of white light to discover that this white light existed within a rock. The black rock was semi-transparent, which was why the white light was able to shine through it. He was a little curious, and he used his evil-slaying sword to dig out this rock before carefully chipping away at the rock. After a long while, he finally reached the part of the white light. The white light was a type of powder that glowed faintly like fluorescent powder. And Lin touched it before activating his divine inspection technique, upon which a large chunk of information appeared in his mind. Star essence. This was the essence formed by the huge, starry mountain after absorbing the power of the stars. The information was very simple. There wasn't much description of this white powder, and it didn't even mention its effects. And Lin thought about it for a moment before collecting some star essence in case he needed it in the future. After flying for a while longer, he caught sight of what appeared to be light on a flat, protruding plateau in the distance. This star essence seems to be a little bright. And Lin was a little surprised. However, when he walked closer and saw the source of the light, his eyes widened as if he had seen a ghost. It was around half the size of a grown man, and its entire body was a faint golden color. It was a round star with a dozen or so corners, and it had tentacles that resembled legs. Its entire body glowed with a faint light, as if it were a star in the sky. This was no star essence. This was a F*King star that had become a spirit. Shui Zhantian was also astonished. Holy F*CK! Who would have thought that my dream of plucking stars from the sky would come true so soon? I'll capture this star. And Lin, before Lin had a chance to say anything, Shui Zhantian had already charged toward the star. The two golden eyes on Xing Xing's body abruptly lit up upon seeing this, and it let loose an almighty roar as it also charged toward Shui Zhantian in a manner that was surprisingly similar to Shui Zhantian's. It was also a head-on collision. Boom! The blue light and the golden light collided, and it was like the most violent explosion, causing the mountain within a radius of more than 1,000 feet to collapse. Golden Star was knocked back a few steps, and its body swayed unsteadily, as if it were on the back foot. However, it was unwilling to give up, and it let loose a loud roar as it continued to charge toward Shui Zhantian. Boom, boom, boom. The continuous collisions were like violent explosions. Shui Zhantian was the leader of the Snow Soul Beasts, and he was an extremely powerful beast at the pinnacle of the true power stage. Venus was still much weaker than it. So after a few collisions, Venus fell on the rocks of the mountain, panting violently like a useless fish. Shui Zhantian chortled with glee upon seeing this, and a small hand materialized from his wings, which carried the little star over to Lin with a smug expression. Hee, master, do you want this little star? I'll pluck it for you. And Lin's lips twitched slightly, and he nodded. Thank you. He accepted the golden star, which was about half the size of a grown man, and he inspected it with curiosity. The golden star was already dizzy from Shui Zhantian's collisions, and it was now half a useless star. The star was warm and soft to the touch, as if he were stroking an oversized piece of rubber. Its body glowed with a soft, gentle light, and it was very comfortable to touch. The bottom of the tentacles it used for walking had legs that resembled those of a duck, and there were only two extremely bright eyes on its head, as well as an O-shaped mouth. Big fatty star, is that you? And Lin asked. Golden star. And Lin felt like this was the star beast that Emperor Ziwei had mentioned. He had initially thought that the star beast was some kind of extremely ferocious and violent beast, but it looked like it had some special characteristics. Let go of me. If you dare to touch me, you'll be punished by the stars. A cold, ethereal voice sounded, and Lin's hand trembled in shock. The star beast had spoken in the ancient man language. Are you a star beast? And Lin asked. I'm a member of the mighty Starry Sky tribe. You foolish humans, let me go if you know what's good for you. Otherwise, you'll be crushed to death by countless stars. The star roared with rage. Oh, and Lin nodded before releasing the star. The star monster faltered slightly upon hearing this, and it blinked with confusion, clearly not expecting Lin to react in such a manner. Was he really going to let it go just like that? It cleared its throat. Looks like you know what's good for you to oppose the Starry Sky tribe. We'll be magnanimous and spare you this time. And Lin nodded with a serious expression. You're right. I just wanted to ask if you know where I can find a stardust fruit. The stardust fruit? You want to get your hands on the stardust fruit of our tribe? It's a holy fruit that grows at the peak of our giant starry mountain, on the giant starry tree. If you approach it, you'll be killed by our tribe members. I won't tell you anything about the stardust fruit, the star replied with an excited expression, and Lin's lips twitched upon hearing this. The star monster's words seemed to have provided him with all of the information he wanted to know. So the stardust fruit really did grow at the peak of the giant starry mountain. Nice. Hee hee, I don't believe you. Just how powerful are your tribe members? How dare you try to kill me? And Lin chuckled coldly. Oomph. There are over 100 star beasts that are more powerful than me guarding the giant starry tree. There are over a dozen of them that are even more powerful than that white ball. Are you trying to get yourself killed? The star harumphed coldly as it looked down at Enlin with a disdainful expression. Enlin was very pleased with the star's response. He had never thought that it would be so easy to get information from the star, and a sense of superiority welled up in his heart. This star was most likely at the soul formation initial stage or soul formation intermediate stage, which meant that there were over 100 soul formation initial stage or soul formation intermediate stage beings, and a dozen or so at the soul formation pinnacle stage. If Enlin were to approach them recklessly, there was a good chance that he would be surrounded and killed. He really did have to think of a plan. That's right. Enlin's eyes lit up. He suddenly recalled that Emperor Ziwei had given him an illusionary star robe prior to setting off for the ancient Tai Chu realm. It was said that this robe could evade detection by star beasts and had extremely powerful concealment abilities. On top of that, it also had the ability to disguise one's cultivation base. With this in mind, he pulled out the illusionary star robe from his storage ring. This was a black robe with faint starlight shimmering on its surface, giving it a rather mysterious appearance. Enlin put on the illusionary star robe, and it really did fit him quite well. Furthermore, the black robe was imbued with specks of starlight, which was very compatible with the giant starry mountain. It also had a camouflage effect. Hence, I advise you to leave this place as soon as possible. Don't do anything reckless. The star turned toward Enlin as it spoke, upon which its pupils contracted and its mouth gaped open. Where is he? Holy F***CK. I told you to leave this place, but you were so obedient and instantly left. The star was astonished. Enlin stood rooted to the spot in front of the star, and he was also dumbstruck. Enlin, Chapter 522. Enlin was dumbstruck for a split second upon seeing the star beast's reaction. He looked down at his hand to find that it wasn't invisible. How dare you, little star? Shui Zhantian immediately slapped the star beast across the face. Slap! Shui Zhantian roared with rage. Don't you dare disrespect my master. Isn't my master right in front of you? The star beast covered its face with its tentacles and stared blankly ahead before turning to Shui Zhantian with rage. Bullsh**T. There's nothing in front of me. Slap. Shui Zhantian delivered another slap to the star beast's face. You've really gone too far. How dare you call my master a scumbag? Enlin, the star beast's eyes widened as its golden body rose and fell violently. It felt like it had been bullied. What? You want to ram me again? Shui Zhantian refused to back down. The star beast's eyes dimmed. All right, it really had been bullied. Slap. Another slap landed on the star beast's face. The star beast blinked with confusion as it stared blankly at Shui Zhantian. Shui Zhantian raised its wings high into the air to demonstrate its innocence. It really wasn't me this time. It was Master. The star beast was on the brink of tears. Is there anyone else here? Even if you like to slap me, you can't treat me like a stupid C***. Slap. Another resounding slap landed on the star beast's face. The star beast was truly dumbstruck this time as it stared at Shui Zhantian. It really wasn't him. What the F***CK? And Lin clicked his tongue in wonder upon seeing this in his illusionary star robe. This feeling of being able to slap others without any scruples in the face. It was amazing. The star beast's expression didn't look like it was fake, so it really couldn't see him. To the star beast, the illusionary star robe was even more powerful than the invisibility cloak. Not only could it become invisible, but it could also isolate its aura and sound, thereby completely disappearing from its sight. Shuai had also sensed that something was amiss, and he stared at Lin with yearning in his large, round eyes. The ability to turn invisible and continuously slap the stars. He wanted that as well. And Lin made his way over to Shuai with a smile. Do you want me to be in front of you or behind you? Blue ripples appeared in Shuai eyes as his white fur stood on end. What are you trying to do? Wishful thinking. I don't accept it. I don't want to. And Lin, what did you think of? I want you to be invisible. Shuai faltered slightly upon hearing this before heaving a sigh of relief. I had thought that master was a perverted monster who had gone insane. And Lin almost spat out a mouthful of blood. So, what exactly did you think of? Up ahead. Shuai didn't answer Lin's question. And Lin pursed his lips before putting Shuai into his illusionary star robe. His stomach began to swell up, making him look like a pregnant woman. Tui, like a potbelly. The star monster felt like it had seen a ghost. The white ball had disappeared right in front of its very eyes. And Lin was just about to leave when Shuai voice sounded again. Wait, what is it? And Lin was perplexed. Get closer to that little star, Shuai instructed. And Lin, just as the star monster was still in shock, its soft golden body was slapped again. Slap! The star monster's mouth gaped open as it stroked its flushed cheeks with its tentacles, unable to come to its senses for a long time. A scorching sensation, a feeling of humiliation, a feeling of confusion, a feeling of indignation. Wah? Who did I piss off? Starfreak's emotions exploded and finally burst into tears. At the same time, Shuai chortled with glee in Lin's arms. Ha, that stupid star is so hilarious. Ha ha. And Lin rolled his eyes before flying toward the top of the huge, starry mountain. It feels so good to slap that little star. Shuai flapped its little wings as it sighed with reminiscence. And Lin couldn't be bothered to talk to this asterisk-starred. If he continued to talk to it, he would be infected by it sooner or later. The huge starry mountain was extremely tall, and Lin encountered many star beasts as he climbed up the mountain. However, none of them noticed Lin flying past them. All they felt was a gust of wind blowing toward them, which was quite strange, but they didn't think too much of it. 10,000 feet, 30,000 feet, 100,000 feet. As the mountain continued to rise, the density of star beasts increased instead of decreasing. And Lin even saw some caves inhabited by star beasts, as well as some star beasts sunbathing on the mountain. 200,000 feet, 100,000 feet, 100,000 feet. This was most likely the highest mountain Lin had ever climbed. After reaching 100,000 feet, he finally saw the summit of the mountain, as well as several hundred star beasts. They were moving about on the summit like a series of walking stars, and even the light they emitted seemed to be brighter than the stars he had encountered before. What was most elated to him was that he saw a tree over 1,000 feet tall, as well as a stardust fruit hanging from the tree. That's right, this was the stardust fruit that was identical to the one in the illustration. This stardust fruit was about the same size as Shuai, and it was exuding a dazzling light, as if it were a twinkling star. What was even more elated to Lin was that there wasn't just one stardust fruit. Instead, there were 3 of them. Brilliant! If he handed over one, he could keep 2 for himself. Around the huge starry tree, there were many star beasts sunbathing and absorbing the power of the stars in the sky. There were also some star beasts who were praising the stardust fruits with scorching eyes and drooling from the corners of their mouths. However, right at this moment, one of the stardust fruits suddenly disappeared right before everyone's eyes. All of the star beasts faltered upon seeing this before rubbing their eyes vigorously before turning toward the huge starry tree again, only to discover that another stardust fruit had disappeared. Of the 3 stardust fruits, only one remained. Pa! Pa! Tribe leader, bad news. A star beast yelled in a panicked voice. Why are you so panicked? A burly golden star with an extremely dazzling body spoke in a slow voice. Look at the huge starry mountain. The stardust fruits on it have suddenly disappeared. A star beast yelled in a panicked voice. Ha! Have you had too much to drink, Galdo? The stardust fruits are perfectly fine. How could they suddenly disappear? The tribe leader chortled before turning toward the huge starry mountain. His smile then gradually congealed before disappearing. At this moment, the huge starry tree had become completely bare, and the 3 stardust fruits had already disappeared. What the hell is going on? The tribe leader's eyes widened with incredulity as he stared at the scenes unfolding before him. A breath later, the tribe leader's scream finally sounded. Enemy attack! Enemy attack! Our holy fruits have been stolen. Don't let him get away. Chapter 523. The holy fruits have been stolen? Several hundred star beasts turned toward the stardust tree to discover that the 3 stardust fruits had already disappeared. All of the star beasts were dumbstruck. Who could have stolen the holy fruits right under their noses? What are you all standing around for? Hurry up and catch the thief, the tribe leader yelled. All of the star beasts stared at their tribe leader with dumbstruck expressions, as if to say how are they supposed to catch the thief if they didn't even know how the fruits had disappeared? The thief definitely couldn't have gotten far. Let's patrol the area in different directions, and we'll definitely be able to find the thief, the tribe leader added. All of the star beasts' eyes lit up upon hearing this. That made sense. Thus, several hundred shooting stars appeared at the summit of the huge starry mountain before flying in all directions like fireworks, leaving a series of golden trajectories in their wake. The summit of the mountain became more and more spacious. Never would they have thought that the culprit who had stolen the fruits was still at the summit of the mountain, and Lin looked at the stardust tree before him with an intrigued expression, contemplating whether he should uproot this tree as well. Stealing a few eggs was nothing. Stealing the hen was the best way to go. However, he decided against it after thinking about it. The stardust tree needed to absorb a large amount of power of stars in order to grow, and there was no guarantee that it would be able to survive on the Taichu continent. As such, it was better to leave some for the poor little star. Master, take me to that super bright, super fat star, Shui Zhantian yelled, and Lin was a little perplexed as he made his way toward the super bright star beast. Slap! A resounding slap landed on the star beast's face. Huh, that was so satisfying. Shui Zhantian chuckled sinisterly. And Lin, tribe leader, mountain ceiling formation, activate. The tribe leader quickly came to his senses and immediately activated the huge starry mountain's spell formation. Boom! A blue light barrier rose up from the mountain, enshrouding the entire space and making it impossible for anyone to escape. The invisible thief is nearby. Find him for me. The patriarch shouted excitedly. The several dozen star beasts guarding the huge starry tree shuddered upon hearing this, and some of them prepared to attack, while others unleashed search spell techniques. Shui Zhantian, Master, I've committed the most heinous crimes. And Lin didn't expect Shui Zhantian to admit his mistake in such a straightforward manner, and he couldn't bring himself to do anything about it. He glanced at the huge ceiling formation, and his eyes turned snow white. Divine inspection technique. A red light flashed, and a flaw in the array formation was struck by this red light. Finally, a hole was broken open, and Lin and Shui Zhantian immediately rushed toward the cave and escaped from the huge starry mountain. Chase them! Chase in that direction! The patriarch shouted. Streaks of golden light with immense power shot towards the entrance of the cave. However, in front of this enemy that couldn't sense anything, their collision was just a random attack. It would be a joke if they really wanted to hit this enemy with this. And Lin led Shui Zhantian away from the huge starry mountain. He turned to look at the enraged and confused stars behind him, and he heaved a faint sigh before flying into the distance again. He had successfully completed the mission given to him by Emperor Zhui. Now, all he had to do was complete the system's mission. If he failed the mission, he would have to become a eunuch for 100 years. This was a price that he couldn't accept. He looked at the boundless Black Mountain ranges, and he didn't know where he was. There were no landmarks in the area outside of the map, and the day and night were reversed, aside from the star beasts. He couldn't see any other living beings. This place was way too barren. Could it be that he had been teleported to some mystic realm by the huge starry mountain? and Lin flew for over 1,500 kilometers before finally flying out of the range of the mountain ranges and arriving on a grassland. The grass on this grassland was a deep purple, and it was a vast expanse of purple that intersected with the starry sky as far as the eye could see. The stars here are way too bright. Even the scenery of the grassland can be seen so clearly under the starry sky. And Lin sighed as he looked at the boundless grassland in the distance. It's not a lush green grassland. It's not pretty. Shui Zhantian grumbled. Master, let's leave this place. There's nothing to see here. Only a green grassland that is eco-friendly and pleasing to the eye is suitable for us. Shui Zhantian suggested again, and Lin rolled his eyes. If you like green grasslands, don't take me with you. What are you talking about? I'm going to beat the crap out of you if you keep spouting nonsense. Shui Zhantian recoiled slightly. He didn't understand why Lin was so angry. His ears twitched slightly, and he turned toward a certain direction. Master, there seems to be an abnormal flow of vital energy over there. There might be people fighting there. And Lin's eyes instantly lit up upon hearing this, and he immediately flew toward the direction Shui Zhantian was pointing. Facts had proven that in this lifeless world, it was good to have people, regardless of whether it was an enemy or an ally. This proved that Lin wasn't alone. There were people he could communicate with. As they drew closer and closer, the energy blast became more and more violent. And Lin was astonished. These clashes of energy seemed to be significantly more powerful than even his own. How could there be such powerful beings in the ancient divine division? Close to 10 kilometers away, a series of violent clashes and earth-shattering booms erupted, causing the earth to tremor slightly. And Lin's eyes widened as he was suddenly greeted by the sight of a sea of flames erupting into the sky, instantly encompassing an area of 5 kilometers. What a terrifying aura! And Lin charged toward the edge of the flames and finally saw a crimson bird bathed in flames. This bird was over 1,000 feet in size, and its crimson feathers were enshrouded in golden flames. Its tail was spread open like a peacock's tail, upon which was a sinister image of a twisted red bird skeleton. Not far away from it, a bronze-skinned man with a pair of black wings was standing in the void. He held a massive saber in his hand before slashing it down upon the crimson bird. The space around him crumbled as an inky black saber projection instantly tore through the ground in a radius of several kilometers. The crimson bird let loose a sharp cry as a peculiar ripple spread from the image on its tail, twisting and distorting the inky black saber projection. Boom! The power of the saber projection crashed into the crimson bird's body, tearing a massive gash into the ground. And Lin stared blankly at the earth-shattering battle taking place before him, and he didn't even dare to breathe. A battle of this magnitude was clearly a battle between two return to void stage mighty figures. What the F***CK? Why were there return to void stage mighty figures in the ancient divine division? No. And Lin's body shuddered as a terrifying thought occurred to him. Return to void stage Darkwing tribe cultivators and crimson birds, a starry sky. He couldn't have come to the ancient Tai Chu realm's void star section, right? That was the only way to explain it. No wonder the power of the stars here was so powerful. No wonder there were return to void stage mighty figures here. He had come to the hellish void star section. Chapter 524. And Lin felt like 10,000 alpacas were stampeding over his heart. Never would he have thought that he would be in the void star section. If he were to wander around in a dangerous place like this, he might not even know how he would die. To think that he could fly for over 1,500 kilometers without thinking. How lucky! The battle between the Darkwing tribe cultivator and the crimson bird was earth-shattering. All types of powerful techniques were being unleashed, and the onlookers were dazzled. Thankfully, Lin was wearing the illusionary star robe, which allowed him to conceal his aura and avoid detection. Even though the illusionary star robe couldn't provide absolute concealment like it could against star beasts, it was still able to conceal one's aura and avoid detection from long-range divine sense detection. Shui Zhantian stared at the battle in the distance with an expression of yearning on his face as he lay in Lin's arms. This is how men should fight. Every single move they make can shake the heavens. Just as he was speaking, the Dark-Winged Tribe Cultivator had already sliced off one of the Crimson Bird's wings, and crimson blood splattered through the air. However, the blood was not evaporated by the boundless flames. Instead, it suddenly materialized into a crimson sword, which pierced through the air and instantly punctured the Dark-Winged Tribe Cultivator's chest. Brutal. As a seasoned spectator, Lin could roughly determine that the Dark-Winged Tribe Cultivator and the Crimson Bird were both at the Return to Void initial stage. The spell technique resonated with heaven and earth very strongly, but they weren't very proficient in the use of space. Guardian Tai Chu, Night Death. The Dark-Winged Tribe Cultivator raised his black saber high into the air, and dark clouds instantly gathered within a radius of 5 kilometers as a faint black light pierced through the clouds. The hair on Lin's body stood on end, and he hurriedly retreated with all his might. The Crimson Bird's body squirmed as it tried to fuse back its severed wing. However, it was given a huge fright by the terrifying spell technique unleashed by the Dark-Winged Tribe Cultivator, and it immediately activated its flaming wings to the maximum. A flaming phoenix over 10,000 feet in length spread its wings before pouncing toward the Dark-Winged Tribe Cultivator with a sea of flames around it. The Dark-Winged Tribe Cultivator's saber fell, and the black clouds in the sky surged as the massive saber descended with terrifying power. At that moment, the world seemed to fall into eternal darkness, without a trace of color. The light of the flaming phoenix clashed with the darkness of the black saber projection, and the terrifying shockwaves pulverized the ground within a radius of several kilometers. As the light and darkness clashed, Lin was also struck by the shockwaves, and even the hood of his illusionary star robe was blown away. Fortunately, he retreated quickly and was not injured. The blade beam finally tore through the flaming phoenix and landed on the Crimson Bird's body. The black light swept past the Crimson Bird's body, causing it to let out a cry. When the black light dissipated and Lin saw the Crimson Bird again, its body had been sliced in half from the middle. The crimson feathers on its body were growing dimmer and dimmer. It was clear that its life force had been severed. The male from the Dark-Winged Tribe stood in the air, his face slightly pale, and blood continued to flow from the gaping hole in his chest. Master, this was a heaven-sent opportunity. The Black-Winged Man is already at the end of his tether, so let's go up and kill him now. Shui Zhantian suddenly became very excited as he squirmed around in Lin's arms. Lin chuckled lightly. You want to land the killing blow? Use your life to make up for it. Don't underestimate the power of Return to Void stage mighty figures. As long as they're still alive, they have many ways to kill us. His voice had only just fallen when he saw the male from the Dark-Winged Tribe turn toward him. The male carried his massive saber, and a hint of astonishment appeared on his face as he stared at Lin. Lin blinked before asking Shui Zhantian. He's looking at me, Shui Zhantian replied. Perhaps he's looking at me. After all, I'm so adorable. Lin touched the hood of his illusionary star robe. Could it be that his hood had been blown off by the strong winds, so he was unable to conceal his aura? No, this was not the time to think about this. Lin suddenly came to a realization, and he drew a sharp intake of breath. F***CK. Right now, he was being targeted by a Return to Void stage mighty figure. Lin's first thought was to run as fast as he could. However, before he had a chance to do anything, the male from the Dark-Winged Tribe had already pulled out a portrait from his storage ring. The male looked at the portrait, then at Lin, upon which he drew a sharp intake of breath in shock. Lin looked at the male with a perplexed expression, but the male shuddered as he stumbled back a couple of steps with an expression of shock and horror on his face. Lin. The male from the Dark-Winged Tribe immediately tore open a spatial rift and rushed into the spatial gate before completely disappearing from this world. The Return to Void stage mighty figure of the Dark-Winged Tribe escaped, and Lin's lips twitched upon seeing this. He looked around with a confused expression, but he didn't find anything to be afraid of. Why is he running so fast? Is he afraid of me? Little Tion, am I that scary? And Lin couldn't help but ask. Shui Zhantian flared up with rage. I'm Shui Zhantian, the mighty and domineering Shui Zhantian. Don't call me little Tion. The veins on Lin's forehead bulged. Who's calling you little Tion? Don't become a pervert all of a sudden. You still haven't answered my question. Am I that scary? Why do I feel like the male from the Darkwing tribe fled? Because he was afraid of me. Shui Zhantian was clearly a little perplexed, and after a moment of silence, he replied, I'm not scary. Master, you haven't even unleashed your domineering aura yet. Could it be that he was scared away by my mighty and domineering aura? And Lin's chest constricted. He felt like discussing this with Shui Zhantian was bullsh**. A thought suddenly occurred to him, and he looked toward the corpse of the crimson bird at the center of the sea of flames that was gradually being extinguished, and Lin rushed over and began to loot the corpse. Sure enough, a ring-like spatial storage magic tool was pulled out by him. Shui Zhantian was astonished. Holy F***. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. That male was so scared that he didn't even have time to pick up the item before running away. Master, an indescribable sense of respect welled up in his heart as he looked at the male before him. He didn't really think that he had scared away the Blackwing male. Only Master could have scared him away. Master's power seemed to be even more unfathomable than he had imagined. At the same time, the space within a vast expanse of black sea was torn open, and a pale-faced male, carrying a massive saber, emerged before looking at the shrinking spatial rift with lingering fear in his eyes. Thank God he didn't come after me. Otherwise, I, Dao Yi, would have died in the Void Star section. He heaved a light sigh of relief as he shook his head. As expected of Lin, who killed the Dark Knight Monarch and left even the Moonlit Knight Monarch completely helpless against him. To think that he was able to sneak up on me and appear when I was at my weakest, that final gaze, that gaze that was filled with indifference toward all life was truly terrifying. Thank God I ran away decisively, and he didn't unleash any killing intent toward me. Otherwise, I really would have been screwed. Dao Yi wiped the sweat from his forehead, and a faint smile appeared on his face as he praised himself for being quick-witted. He thought to himself for a moment before tearing open the spatial rift again. He still wasn't far enough. He had to get further away. Chapter 5:25. And Lin flew along with Shui Zhantian. Such an intense battle could attract the attention of other powerful beings, so they had to move quickly. And Lin flew aimlessly for several dozen kilometers before finally finding a small mountain. He immediately used a spell technique to blast a huge hole into the mountain before laying low for the night. It's time to check the spoils of war. And Lin smiled with a buoyant smile. And Lin was extremely grateful toward the Darkwing tribe Cultivator. After all, he had given all of his spoils of war to Lin after battling the Crimson Bird to the death. What a good man. That Darkwing tribe Cultivator really was a good man. And Lin brought out his most recent spoils of war, which consisted of a Snow Maiden storage ring, 2 Dragon Tribe storage rings, and a Crimson Bird storage ring. Of course, he had to start with the poorest, so Lin refined the Snow Maiden storage ring first. He wanted to curse out loud. Holy F***CK. 120,000 spirit stones, 2 intermediate rank spirit tools, 1 spirit fruit, and a bunch of miscellaneous items. There wasn't even a single realm essence crystal. How poor. A soul formation stage Snow Maiden was so poor. The spirit fruit was a 4th grade ice-type spirit fruit. And Lin thought for a moment before giving it to Shui Zhantian. He then refined the 2 Dragon Tribe storage rings, upon which he was astonished again. This was because he had obtained a total of 1,200,000 spirit stones, 15 spirit tools, 20 spirit fruits, 2 7th grade immortal fruits, 1 golden realm essence crystal, 1 red realm essence crystal, 10 green realm essence crystals, and 52 white realm essence crystals. The 2 7th grade immortal fruits were called Furious Dragon Fruits, which could enhance one's constitution and increase one's stamina in battle for a short period of time. This soul formation stage Dragon Tribe storage ring was comparable to the wealth of a return to Void stage Snow Maiden, and Lin couldn't help but feel a little sympathetic toward Hongdo and Lingying. He wondered what their expressions would be like after refining the Snow Maiden storage rings. Finally, he began to refine the return to Void stage Crimson Bird storage ring. That Crimson Bird was most likely a return to Void stage mighty figure from the southern Heavenly Wing Nation, so it was an enemy to him. As such, he didn't feel much sympathy toward it. Instead, he began to refine it with an expectant expression. 1,060,000 spirit stones, 6 high-rank spirit tools, 21 spirit pills, 1 immortal pill, 2 immortal fruits, 2 golden realm essence crystals, 9 blue realm essence crystals, 25 white realm essence crystals, as well as a bunch of tool refinement materials and miscellaneous items. The immortal pill was a tier 6 immortal pill, the True Dipper Soul Recovery Pill. It had a strong effect on repairing damaged souls. The immortal fruit was a 5th grade immortal fruit, the 6th Revolution Phoenix fruit. When consumed by a user with a fire-type bloodline, it would aid in the comprehension of the Tao of Fire. On top of that, it would strengthen and purify the fire-type bloodline. This immortal fruit was quite suitable for Xiaolan. After exploring the ancient Tai Chu realm for so long, there was finally a presentable present. Finally, and most importantly, he had gathered all the Golden Realm Essence Crystals. 2 Crimson Bird Realm Essence Crystals, 1 Dragon Realm Essence Crystal, and 3 Realm Essence Crystals in his bag. In addition to the 4 Golden Realm Essence Crystals he had absorbed earlier, he had collected all 10 Golden Realm Essence Crystals, and he could finally complete his mission. And Lin looked up into the sky, and he was so moved that he was on the verge of tears. His threat of becoming a eunuch had finally been resolved. Wasn't being a eunuch for 100 years scary? How could he not be scared when he was faced with the possibility of becoming a eunuch? Little Tian, protect me. And Lin immediately pulled out the Golden Realm Essence Crystals and began the absorption process. Shui Zhantian pursed his lips with a displeased expression, but he still obediently flapped his little wings and flew in front of Lin before cautiously sensing the situation outside the cave. There were 6 Golden Realm Essence Crystals, and each Golden Realm Essence Crystal took an average of 1 hour to absorb. Hence, it took Lin 6 hours to completely absorb all the Realm Essence Crystals. Time passed by slowly, and Lin could sense a special energy circulating within his body. However, he was unable to use this energy, and he could only allow it to circulate within his body. The absorption process was very smooth, and there were no unexpected occurrences. After absorbing the last Golden Realm Essence Crystal, his system began to chime with a ding-dong. Congratulations, host, for completing your mission. Now begin materializing the embryonic body of the war god. Boom! An enormous amount of energy exploded within his body, and the energy from the 10 Golden Realm Essence Crystals that had been absorbed into his body was completely activated. At the same time, all of the cultivation methods within his body also began to circulate on their own. Thunder Essence Cultivation Method, Earth Lotus Supreme Skill Cultivation Method, Wind Spirit Cultivation Method, Evergreen Technique, Divine Liquid Creation Technique, Wings of True Fire Cultivation Method. What kind of experience would it be to circulate all of these cultivation methods at the same time? And Lin felt that this was an extremely exhilarating feeling. It was an exhilarating feeling. In the past, he didn't have the ability to circulate all of these cultivation methods at the same time. However, now that he was able to materialize his body of the war god, he had the opportunity to do so. At this moment, he felt extremely powerful. The 5 elements began to materialize. The true intent of metal refined his muscles and bones. The true intent of wood refined his organs. The true intent of water refined his blood. The true intent of fire refined his meridians. And the true intent of earth refined the surface of his body. The powers of the 5 elements each performed their own functions. but they also fused together, and an extremely vast aura began to proliferate outward. Shui Zhantian was given a fright by this terrifying aura, and he turned to look at Enlin to find that Enlin was meditating on the ground. 5 different types of powers circulated around his body in a mystical manner that resonated with the Tao of heaven and earth. That wasn't all. The true intent of wind and lightning began to fuse into Enlin's sea of vital energy. Lightning flashed, thunder rumbled, and wind and rain intertwined. His sea of vital energy began to expand, and the amount of vital energy in his body continued to increase. And Kieran began to whoosh with joy. He felt as if his house had expanded from 80 square meters to over 100 square meters. At the same time, the power of soul cultivation surged into Enlin's consciousness, and his senses became even more powerful. An ancient golden seal flashed on Enlin's forehead, and a domineering aura erupted forth, striking Shui Zhantian with the urge to kneel down. My master really is the most powerful. This peerless aura, this unstoppable aura. How intoxicating. Shui Zhantian's body trembled as tears welled up in his eyes. He was on the verge of tears, and it was hard to tell whether he was on the verge of tears from excitement or from emotion. The ancient golden seal disappeared. Enlin opened his eyes, which were as dazzling as the stars in the sky, and he heaved a long sigh of relief. A faint smile appeared on his face as he sensed the power within his body. I am invincible. Shui Zhantian was also extremely excited. Master, when are we going to ravage the heavens? Enlin, try and hit me. Enlin cracked his neck from side to side before waving a hand at Shui Zhantian. Shui Zhantian's body shuddered. Master, I'm not mentally prepared. Enlin's lips twitched. Why would you need to be mentally prepared to hit someone? I won't retaliate. Oh, so you're not going to retaliate? You should have said so earlier. Shui Zhantian heaved a sigh of relief as his aura began to surge explosively. It would be a waste not to attack at a time like this. A frosty aura enveloped Shui Zhantian's entire body, and he transformed into a streak of blue light before crashing toward Enlin's chest with devastating force. Boom! Enlin's body was blasted through the entire mountain by the massive force, and he only stopped after flying back several hundred meters. Holy Mother of God, my head hurts. Shui Zhantian wobbled his round body as he grumbled. Enlin's blood churned as he sustained some minor injuries. His eyes were extremely bright. In the past, if he were to be rammed by Shui Zhantian, who was at the pinnacle of the true power stage, his internal organs would definitely have been damaged, and he would have thrown up a mouthful of blood. However, he had only sustained some minor injuries now. A physique like this was definitely invincible among soul formation stage cultivators. Enlin clenched his fists as a joyful smile appeared on his face. Ah, I'm so powerful. Chapter 5:26. Enlin was feeling a little smug at his newfound strength. Just the embryonic body of the war god alone was already this powerful. If he had the complete body of the war god, then wouldn't he be super bad *SS? Enlin shook his head and decided not to dwell on these useless thoughts. He was a man who liked to keep a low profile and keep a low profile. It didn't matter to him whether he was bad *SS or not. What mattered was that he had inner qualities. With that in mind, he pulled out a white bead from his storage ring. That's right, this was the Ming Yuan bead that Sword Immortal Ming Yuan had given him. It could determine the wearer's fortune for a period of 10 days. Now that he was no longer in danger of becoming a eunuch, he had attained a divine cultivation technique, and he had also survived the heaven and earth collapse. It was time to examine the results. Enlin injected his vital energy into the Ming Yuan bead, and a powerful suction force engulfed his energy, causing his body to collapse. At the same time, a ripple proliferated outward before merging into heaven and earth. The Ming Yuan bead began to glow red before slowly turning purple. At this moment, Enlin felt like he was about to throw up a mouthful of blood. Why did this happen? He had just survived a tribulation to make his life a better one. So why was it still so red? and Lin stowed the Ming Yuan bead away before pulling out a golden badge. As long as he activated this golden teleportation badge, he would be able to return to the Celestial Court. Perhaps he would be able to avoid the impending tribulation there. No, he suddenly came to a realization. Things couldn't be this simple. As if realizing something, he turned toward his system to see if there were any new missions. His body shuddered upon seeing this. Holy F***CK. F***CK. The special mission tab was glowing again. Special mission. Congratulations to host for attaining the embryonic body of the war god. The following mission is now assigned. In order to further enhance the body of the war god, please absorb 10 times 10 golden realm essence crystals within a year. Mission success. Attain initial success in the body of the war god. Mission failure. 100 times 100 years. Note, this mission cannot be rejected. Unlin F***CKU system. F***CKU. Unlin let loose a torrent of abuse. Shui Zhantian's body shuddered. Master, this name doesn't sound good. Just call me Xiao Tian. Also, what did I do wrong? Why did you scold me? And Lin's face darkened. I'm not talking about you. Shui Zhantian was at a complete loss, and he looked around before blinking in confusion. Was there anyone else here besides him? And Lin almost fainted when he saw the system's mission. Absorb 100 golden realm essence crystals. Were the F***CK, would there be so many realm essence crystals for him to absorb? If these golden realm essence crystals were converted into spirit stones, they would be worth 100 million spirit stones. Furthermore, if he failed the mission, he would have to become a eunuch for 10,000 years. Also, why did this despicable calculation of 10 times 10 and 100 times 100 feel so familiar? Next time, would it be calculated by the power of the square? And Lin was seething with anger, his whole body trembling. It suddenly occurred to him that if he failed the mission, he would become Taoist companions with Su Xiaolan 100 years later, and then he would not be able to have intercourse with Su Xiaolan for 9,900 years. No, under such circumstances, Su Xiaolan would definitely dump him. With this in mind, tears streamed down his face. F***CKU system. And Lin's eyes were bloodshot as he let loose another torrent of abuse. Shui Zhantian stared at Lin with shock and horror on his face. Had Master gone insane? After a long while, Lin finally repressed his emotions and released his divine sense into the Crimson Bird's spatial storage magic tool. There was no point in complaining. The only thing he could do now was to find more golden realm essence crystals. He had found a massive map among the miscellaneous items in the storage space. He pulled out the map from his storage space and carefully examined it. After a short while, a faint smile of elation appeared on his face. This was a map of the Void Star section. Lin didn't have a map of the Void Star section before. After all, he was going to the Ancient Divine Division, and he wasn't going to waste his time researching a map that had nothing to do with him. It was exactly because of this that he discovered that he was completely blind after arriving in the Void Star section. This map was like a pillow delivered to him when he was dozing off, and it just so happened to solve his most pressing problem. The terrain outlined on this map had been drawn up using the information of the past explorers of the ancient Tai Chu realm of the Southern Heavenly Wing Nation. All types of areas and potential dangers were marked on the map. Although it wasn't completely detailed, it gave him a rough idea of the Void Star section. The brightest red star in the night sky is located north, and we're currently at the purple grassland. It's located in the western region of the 9 tectonic plates of the Void Star section. Further west is the Black Sea, and to the north is the White Jade Mountain. The probability of realm essence crystals appearing on the White Jade Mountain is very high, but there are also jade beasts there, so it's very dangerous. And Lin looked at the map before deciding to go to the White Jade Mountain for no other reason than the realm essence crystals. In order to not become a eunuch for 10,000 years, he had to fight. He put on his illusionary star robe and used a spell technique to secure his robe so that he wouldn't be discovered by the Darkwing tribe Cultivator again. Am I imagining things? Why do I feel like my pocket is a little full? And Lin blinked curiously as he looked down at his pocket. You're not imagining things. It's squeezing into me. Shui Zhantian protested, and Lin pulled out the silver ball from his pocket with an expression of surprise on his face. It's really big. The silver ball was originally only about 3 centimeters in diameter, but it was now a full 10 centimeters in diameter. You liar. How dare you say fairies aren't oviparous? Even the eggs have grown bigger. Shui Zhantian protested, and Lin had nothing to say, and he could only put the silver ball into an even larger pocket before setting off. The purple grassland was extremely vast, and Lin flew relentlessly through the air. There was nothing but grass around him. After 4 hours, he was still unable to see the end of the grassland. Holy F***CK, this is way too big, and Lin was a little dumbstruck as he looked around at the vast expanse of purple grass around him. The map didn't specify a scale, so Lin didn't know how big this grassland was. All he knew was that this was a special region in the Void Star section. Thankfully, the stars in the sky could guide him. Otherwise, he really would get lost in this vast grassland. And Lin continued to fly, and after another 2 hours, he discovered that the purple grass on the ground was showing signs of wilting. The vibrant purple color gradually dimmed, and its surface was wrinkled and shriveled, giving it a pale and colorless appearance. Ever since he had attained the embryonic body of the war god, his perception of life force had reached a new level. As such, he could roughly sense that the life force of these purple grass was being stripped away by some kind of power, and the direction in which this life force was being stripped away was toward the northeast. And Lin hesitated momentarily, but he still decided to go and investigate. In order to be on the safe side, he cast a few concealment spell techniques on himself and Shui Zhantian before landing on the ground and carefully running forward. The closer they got to the center of the flow of life force, the more wilted the purple grass on the ground became. After traveling for over 50 kilometers, the ground had already become barren and barren. Could it be that some kind of rare treasure had appeared? And Lin was starting to get a little excited. Generally speaking, anything that could cause such a massive change in heaven and earth couldn't be simple. Such a peaceful environment didn't seem to be the result of a battle between mighty figures. Then, it was even more likely that a treasure had caused this. Chapter 5:27. And Lin continued to draw closer and closer to where the vitality was flowing. Soon, he saw a red dot of light flickering in the distance. The ground was littered with dead grass, all of which had been sucked dry of their vitality and were plastered to the ground like charcoal. Upon closer inspection, he discovered that the red dot of light was a crimson jade coffin, and the vitality of the grassland was constantly converging into this coffin. And Lin stared at the coffin with bewilderment and didn't dare to move recklessly. Could it be that this coffin was a rare treasure? He wasn't sure. This was because this coffin could have been placed here by some mighty figure to conduct some kind of mysterious ritual. If there was an extremely powerful being lying inside, then that would be 2F** King Rude. He pondered for a moment before his storage ring flashed, and 2 shiny silver humanoid Gundams appeared on the ground. You guys go open that coffin and see what's inside. At a time like this, the 2 Gundams were very useful as meat shields. Whoosh! The 2 Gundams flew toward the red coffin. Boom! When they were still about 100 meters away from the coffin, they were suddenly attacked by a terrifying power. A red beam of light materialized in the air before crashing into the 2 Gundams' bodies like a pillar of light, caving in on their sturdy alloy bodies. The Gundams flew back several hundred meters like cannonballs after being struck by the immense force. Thankfully, they were quite resilient and they crawled back to their feet after rolling a few times on the ground. Huh, there's a spell formation here? That's way too well hidden. I didn't even notice it when I was so close to it. And Lin exclaimed in surprise as his eyes turned snowy white as he surveyed the space around the coffin. A series of extremely complex, veined patterns appeared before his eyes. This was a small spell formation, but it was extremely complex. For a normal cultivator, breaking this spell formation would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens. It was a pity that Lin had the divine inspection technique. A realm-piercing nail appeared in the air before whizzing toward a certain spot in space. Boom! The space tremored violently again, and the spell formation crumbled. The two Gundams took this opportunity to pounce toward the red coffin again. They placed their hands on the coffin in an attempt to lift the lid, only to find that they were completely unable to do so. Lin, what do I need you for? He discovered that the two Gundams were becoming less and less durable after he became more and more powerful. They couldn't fight, and now they couldn't even move a coffin lid. Next time, would they have to implant a small program to let them shout 666? Just as he was thinking about this, the blood jade coffin lid suddenly shot up into the sky, and Lin jumped in fright. At this moment, a black shadow leaped out at an extremely fast speed. A cold light shot towards one of the Gundams with the force of lightning. It was a sharp tooth. Crack! The black shadow opened its mouth and bit at the Gundam's neck. Then a tooth was knocked out by the metal neck. And Lin could vaguely see the bitterness on her pale face under her long blonde hair. The two Gundams didn't even have a chance to retaliate before the black shadow leaped back into the coffin. Rumble! The lid of the coffin that shot into the sky fell down again, sealing the coffin. Everything returned to silence, as if the coffin had never been opened, and Lin, Master, that person is so pitiful. Even his canine teeth are gone. Shui Zhantian also had a pair of canine teeth, so he was a little sympathetic toward the Gundams. And Lin massaged his brows. Those aren't canine teeth, they're blood-sucking teeth. The identity of the coffin had been confirmed. This was a F*King treasure. This was a F*King resting place for a Blood Tribe mighty figure. However, that Blood Tribe mighty figure seemed to be a little weak. Gundam 1 and Gundam 2's alloy armor had high defensive capabilities, but it shouldn't have been able to bite through their teeth. Taking a step back, and Lin could tell that the Gundams weren't going to taste good just by looking at their hard and stiff bodies. Was there something wrong with this mighty figure's head? Sucking life force, coffin, weak strength, delirious, and Lin pieced together all of this information to form a rough picture of what had happened. Perhaps this Blood Tribe mighty figure had been severely wounded, so he was lying in the coffin to recover, and the method of recovery was to absorb the life force of the purple grassland. That must be it. And Lin's eyes lit up as he stared at the crimson jade coffin with a scorching light in his eyes. When dealing with an enemy, one had to strike while they were down. What was there to be afraid of when even the two Gundams couldn't take him down? Besides, he was the Poison Lord, the nemesis of the Blood Tribe. And Lin felt like he was in the bag this time. The two Gundams continued to lift the lid of the coffin, but no matter how hard they tried, they were unable to lift it. After that, under Lin's instructions, they attacked the coffin with particle swords, laser cannons, and dark purple dragon flames. However, the coffin remained unscathed no matter what they did. And Lin chuckled coldly. Do you think I can't do anything to you just because you're hiding in your turtle shell? He also began to slowly approach the crimson jade coffin. The coffin glowed with a dazzling red light, and it was clear that it was still sucking life force. The crimson jade was semi-transparent, and through the lid of the coffin, Lin could see a curvaceous, golden-haired woman in a black robe. Her eyes were closed, and she was sleeping peacefully, as if she were a sleeping beauty. Hee, let me wake you up, little beauty. A sly smile appeared on Lin's face as he stroked the cold coffin. Shui Zhantian's body shuddered. He suddenly felt like his master was the antagonist. And Lin thought for a moment before deciding to use the normal method to open the coffin. He placed his hands on the edge of the coffin and tried to lift the lid with his power, only to find that the coffin lid had fused together with the coffin, and the coffin had fused together with the earth around it. Even after using all of his power, the coffin remained completely motionless. And Lin drew his evil slaying sword, and an earth-shattering black light burst forth from the blade as he slashed down. An extremely sharp sword projection struck the crimson jade coffin, and the resulting shockwaves tore open the earth for over a kilometer. The web between Lin's thumb and forefinger almost split open from the impact. He looked down at his evil-slaying sword to find that it had only managed to leave an extremely small crack in the crimson jade coffin, and the crack healed after a few seconds. Great holy flame, demonic star flame, heavenly void flame, and setting moon flame. The four divine flames enshrouded the entire crimson jade coffin, and terrifying temperatures roasted the coffin relentlessly. Hee, how does this steamer coffin feel? And Lin asked with a sinister smile. Within the coffin, the sleeping golden-haired woman finally opened her eyes, and she stared at Lin with her crimson eyes. Her expression remained calm and tranquil. Liquid-like ripples suddenly appeared on the surface of the crimson jade coffin, and it seemed to be resisting the invasion of the divine flames. And Lin was very elated. The sleeping beauty had woken up and was resisting, which meant that his divine flames were working, and he immediately increased the intensity of the flames. Chapter 528. The four divine flames caused the air around them to twist and warp. An indescribably high temperature enveloped the crimson jade coffin, but the blood tribe woman within the coffin remained completely indifferent, and there wasn't even a single drop of sweat on her forehead. One had to realize that even Lin was sweating profusely. 15 minutes later, Lin had almost depleted all of his energy, and he was panting heavily as the divine flame roasted him. He had to conserve some energy in case the blood tribe woman within the coffin suddenly attacked. And Lin swallowed a blood spirit pill and stared at the crimson jade coffin with a slightly pained expression. The corners of the woman's mouth curled up slightly as a mocking smile appeared on her pale face. The crimson jade coffin glowed with a bright red light once again, and it seemed to be absorbing the vitality of the purple grassland at an even faster rate. And Lin stood beside the crimson jade coffin with a helpless expression. If he allowed the blood tribe mighty figure within the coffin to recover, the roles of the prey and the hunter would change when the coffin lid was lifted. Should he leave now? And Lin was a little reluctant. After all, this was the best opportunity to land the killing blow, as well as the fastest way to obtain Golden Realm Essence Crystals. Was there a faster way to obtain Realm Essence Crystals than to kill someone and steal their treasures? At least not in Lin's eyes. She was a return to Void Stage mighty figure who had risked her life for close to 10 days in the ancient Taichu realm. Just as Lin was hesitating, Shui Zhantian's stomach suddenly rumbled. Master, I'm going to relieve myself first. Shui Zhantian flapped his wings and flew into the air. Relieve yourself for what? And Lin blinked with curiosity. I ate an ice-type spirit fruit too quickly, and the ice blade was too strong, so my stomach isn't feeling too good. I have a bit of diarrhea, Shui Zhantian explained sheepishly. And Lin's lips twitched. This was the first time he had heard of someone getting diarrhea from eating a spirit fruit. But all of a sudden, his eyes lit up as a brilliant idea floated into his mind. Little Tian, a mysterious smile appeared on Lin's face. I'm here. Shui Zhantian swallowed nervously. He didn't know what his master was thinking about. Didn't you want to relieve yourself? Just do it here. And Lin pointed at the lid of the crimson jade coffin with a sinister smile. Shui Zhantian, master, do you think I'm a shameless snow soul beast? Shui Zhantian glowered at Lin with a furious expression. Lin shook his head. You're not. You're a powerful being who is fearless and fearless in order to win. You're a fearless being who you are. After you succeed, you'll be rewarded with 5 spirit fruits. Lin raised the stakes once again. So be it. I'm not defecating in front of other snow soul beasts anyway. I'm defecating in front of a blood tribe, Cultivator. Shui Zhantian flew toward the crimson jade coffin with a heroic expression on his face. That's right. What it was doing now was the same as a human defecating in the wild in front of a group of wild beasts. Since they were of different species, the sense of shame would be much lower. Little Tian, move a little closer. That's right. Aim at her head. That's it. Shui Zhantian finally got into position under Lin's guidance. Shui Zhantian hovered 10 centimeters above the crimson jade coffin, and his fluffy white fur parted slightly to reveal a small hole. Then, The indifferent expression on the Blood Tribe woman's face disappeared. Her beautiful eyes were wide open, and there was a hint of terror and incredulity on her exquisite but pale face. At that moment, gray excrement began to pour down. Can you imagine someone shitting on your head? Even though it was a translucent coffin, the experience was still extremely terrifying. Shame, humiliation, disgust. Countless negative emotions assaulted him. This was a terrifying mental blow. Finally, the vampire lady exploded. Rumble. The lid of the coffin suddenly exploded, sending Shui Zhantian flying into the sky. I want you dead. The Blood Tribe woman let out an enraged roar, and her white hands formed claws as she pounced toward Lin at a terrifying speed. Her fingers tore through the air in lethal crimson trajectories, threatening to tear Lin's body apart. And Lin was already prepared, and he had already unleashed his wind sword the moment the lid of the coffin exploded. Hence, he was even faster than the Blood Tribe woman in that instant. He dodged to the side to evade the Blood Tribe woman's crimson finger projection, and his evil-slaying sword slashed a peerlessly sharp white line toward the woman's waist. The evil-slaying sword sliced through the woman's black robe, and a line of blood appeared on her fair skin. So fast, the Blood Tribe woman's heart jolted with shock. She didn't think that a soul formation stage cultivator would be able to unleash such a fast attack. However, against a soul formation stage cultivator, she had 100 ways to easily kill him. The two of them passed by each other, and the Blood Tribe woman came out on top in their first clash. However, when she turned to look at Lin, she had already extended a hand toward Lin and made a grabbing motion. The space within a radius of over 1,000 feet instantly congealed. This was a spatial seal that only Return to Void stage mighty figures could master. And Lin's body was also immobilized in that instant. A smile appeared on the Blood Tribe woman's face. A mere soul formation stage cultivator like you wants to defeat me? You're far too naive. Even if I'm severely wounded, I can still defeat you in the blink of an eye. Gotcha! A cracking sound suddenly erupted, and a red streak of light pierced through the air, pulverizing the spatial seal before puncturing the Blood Tribe woman's head. How could this be? The Blood Tribe woman stared at Lin with incredulity on her face. Lin immediately turned around and charged toward the woman's face again as his evil-slaying sword fell mercilessly. Like a ghost, the woman retreated backward and quickly calmed her mind. As expected of a Return to Void stage Blood Tribe mighty figure, her life force was terrifyingly powerful. Even after her head had been punctured by the realm-piercing nail, she was still very much alive and kicking. Furthermore, she was still able to materialize a crimson sword in her hands to defend against Lin's attacks. You're only a Return to Void stage mighty figure. Your spatial manipulation is rusty and weak, and even your strength and speed are suppressed by me. Are you a Return to Void stage guardian? Lin taunted as he attacked. The Blood Tribe woman's chest heaved with rage, and she glowered at Lin with her almond-shaped eyes. She let loose a clear cry, and the blood energy within her body surged explosively. She had been forced to unleash a mystic technique. Whoosh! Her body transformed into a streak of crimson light before crashing into the evil-slaying sword. Lin was knocked flying by a powerful force, and as he flew through the air, the Blood Tribe woman had already pounced toward Lin at an even faster speed. She bared her sharp white teeth and bit down toward Lin's neck. Lin could feel the blood within his body being sucked violently. He didn't think that the woman would still be so ferocious, even with a broken tooth. She could even bite through his body of the war god. He pretended to be extremely shocked as he slashed his sword toward the woman before him. The Blood Tribe woman reacted extremely quickly, and she immediately gave up on sucking blood to evade the sword strike. Little brother's blood is so sweet. The Blood Tribe woman licked her crimson lips in a seductive manner. Drink some more if you like it. Lin wore a smug expression. A hint of confusion appeared on the Blood Tribe woman's face. What do you mean by that? Lin wiped the blood from his neck with a smile. My blood is extremely poisonous to you blood tribe cultivators. You're quite powerful, so you can probably last for about a minute. The blood tribe woman faltered slightly upon hearing this before bursting into laughter. Ha ha! Little brother, are you joking with me? Do you think I'll believe such a clumsy lie? She tucked a few strands of golden hair behind her ear and raised her chin with a disdainful expression. The life force of us blood tribe cultivators is not something lowly beings like you can comprehend. No one's poison can kill me. As soon as she finished speaking, her delicate body trembled and a strange flush appeared on her face. Chapter 529. Lin was ecstatic to see the blood tribe woman's reaction. Haha, how do you feel now? Do you know how powerful I am now? The blush on the blood tribe woman's face had yet to recede, and she looked up at Lin with rippling crimson eyes. You are very powerful. What was with that expression? And Lin's lips twitched upon seeing this, and he was unable to comprehend what was happening. Was this the reaction of a blood tribe cultivator after being poisoned? Shouldn't her eyes roll back into her head, and she should be foaming at the mouth before fainting? What was with that amorous expression on her face? Right at this moment, the blood tribe woman suddenly half knelt to the ground with her brows furrowed in pain. She clutched at her chest as her body began to tremble. And Lin immediately relaxed upon seeing this. This was the right reaction. This was the reaction that a person should have after being poisoned. The blood tribe woman opened her mouth with difficulty. Your blood. A faint smile appeared on Lin's face, and he was just about to open his mouth to mock her when an extremely seductive voice sounded again. I like this smell. It's as if it's purifying everything in me. The blood tribe woman raised her head, and her pale face became especially rosy and alluring from the flush. Her loose black robe revealed a large expanse of her fair chest, as well as her voluptuous breasts. And Lin drew a sharp intake of breath upon seeing this, and he immediately averted his gaze. He calmed his heart and looked into the woman's scorching eyes with astonishment. Don't you feel like you're about to die? The blood tribe woman smiled seductively. I do. And Lin heaved an internal sigh of relief upon hearing this. Thank goodness. I feel like I'm about to die from pleasure, the blood tribe woman added. And Lin, the blood tribe woman slowly rose to her feet, and she seemed to have caught her breath. Aside from the fact that her breathing was a little ragged, her face was a little flushed, and her eyes were a little seductive, there didn't seem to be any other changes. And Lin stumbled back a few steps, and his entire body was tense as he appraised the woman before him with a guarded expression. This blood tribe woman still hadn't collapsed after such a long time. Could it be that his blood had really lost its effect? And Lin was a little nervous and dejected. In that case, his greatest reliance against the blood tribe mighty figures would be gone. Don't think that the enemy is easy to bully just because he's heavily injured. The life force of the blood tribe was extremely powerful, and it was not easy to kill a return to void stage blood tribe mighty figure. In order to end this battle, he might have to go all out again. It was going to be another tough battle. The blood tribe woman looked at Lin with a complicated expression and shook her head. Don't be nervous. I won't hurt you. After all, you helped me purify my body. Right now, from my body to my soul, I refuse to hurt you. And Lin opened his mouth, suspecting that he had misheard. You keep saying that your blood is poisonous, but what you don't know is that your blood is the most delicious blood in the world. It's compatible with the heavenly Tao and has the ability to purify all evil in the world. The blood tribe woman looked at Lin with a scorching gaze and continued, Weak blood tribe members may not be able to withstand this purifying power, and their life force will collapse while being purified. However, if they can endure it, it will become the source liquid that can elevate their life force to a higher level, and Lin was dumbstruck. Was that really the case? He recalled back to when the blood tribe was poisoned. Even though all of them were foaming at the mouth and their life force had been severed, none of their blood had turned black. The cause of death was very similar to the collapse of their life force. His blood was also effective against evil beings like the demons of hell, so this seemed to be related to purification as well, and Lin's eyes widened in shock. So, I'm not the poison lord, but the medicine lord instead? That's right. Your blood is the most delicious medicine in the world. The blood tribe woman looked at Lin with a pleading expression and pursed her lips. Can you let me take another sip? Just one sip. As long as you agree, I'll agree to anything you ask of me. And Lin really wanted to tell her to stay where she was and go buy a few oranges by himself. But on second thought, the vampire woman's reaction was quite thought-provoking. After all, if this woman really did desire his blood, she could use force to take it from him. As long as she could conquer him, she would be able to suck his blood to her heart's content. However, the blood tribe woman didn't make that choice. Instead, she lowered her head and pleaded with him. It looked like, could it be that the blood tribe woman was right? After sucking his blood, her body and soul refused to harm him, and Lin used a spell technique to extract a large drop of blood from the wound on his neck. Do you want to drink it? The blood tribe woman nodded incessantly. Yes, yes. Then use your storage ring and that blood jade coffin to exchange for it. And Lin chuckled. The blood tribe woman faltered slightly upon hearing this. Then, she turned to Lin with tears in her eyes. You're such a bully. She extended a slender finger and produced a crimson storage ring before tossing it to Lin. The blood jade coffin is over there. Go get yourself. Lin caught the storage ring and was dumbstruck for a long time. Did he really just use a drop of blood to exchange for the entire fortune of a return to Void Stage mighty figure? So his blood was actually so valuable? And Lin was both overwhelmed by the favor and pained by the amount of blood he had shed in the past. His emotions were extremely complex. He flicked the drop of blood that was hovering in midair toward the blood tribe woman. The blood tribe woman opened her mouth and swallowed it with a satisfied expression. And Lin, Shui Zhantian eagerly carried the blood jade coffin to Lin's side. Without the enhancement of the spell technique, the coffin could finally be moved. Prior to carrying the coffin, Shui Zhantian was very considerate and used a spell technique to clean the excrement on the lid of the coffin. And Lin stowed everything into his storage ring before looking at the blood tribe woman, who seemed to be still reveling in the aftertaste of the coffin. Seeing as there's nothing else, I'll be taking my leave. That's right, his target was the blood tribe woman's fortune. Seeing as he had already obtained the fortune, there was no point in continuing to fight, so he might as well retreat. And Lin departed on his brick with Shui Zhantian in tow. The blood tribe woman gritted her teeth as she looked on at Lin's departing figure. She also rose into the air and followed behind Lin. And Lin, why are you following me? Can you let me drink some more blood? The blood tribe woman stammered. You allowed me to experience a different life. If you let me drink some blood, I'll be sure to repay you in the future. And Lin chuckled coldly. You want to drink my blood? Give up on this idea? No way. Oh, the blood tribe woman nodded with disappointment and fell silent. 15 minutes later, Lin turned around with a headache. What the hell do you want? The woman evaded his gaze and replied in a low voice. I'm in a hurry. What the F***ck are you in a hurry? I've already turned in so many directions, and you're still following me. You call this a hurry? You're tailing me. You're tailing me. And Lin yelled with veins bulging on his forehead. Tailing me? A smile appeared on the blood tribe woman's face. That's a good word. And Lin's chest constricted, and he almost fainted from rage. They were discussing whether or not that was a good word. I definitely won't let you drink any more of my blood. There's no point in following me. And Lin said in a feeble voice. There's a point. The blood tribe woman replied stubbornly. You'll always be injured in battle, and you'll bleed when you're injured. After you bleed, I'll be able to absorb your blood. And Lin's vision darkened, and he almost fell off his black brick. F***ck. She was right. What could he do? Chapter 530. And Lin flew toward the white jade mountain atop his brick. Even though the white jade mountain was fraught with perils, there was a very high chance that realm essence crystals would appear there. Hence, and Lin decided to go there without any hesitation. Becoming a eunuch for 10,000 years was no joke, and he couldn't afford to lose that. At this moment, he was sitting on his brick with a distressed expression as he flew forward. He wasn't distressed because of the threat of becoming a eunuch. Instead, he was distressed because of the Blood Tribe woman who was also sitting on his brick. "Have you finally acknowledged me? Don't worry. As long as you give me your blood, I'll agree to any request you make." The Blood Tribe woman patted her voluptuous chest with a vibrant smile. And Lin was a little surprised as he looked at the woman's chest. She was wearing a loose black robe, so Lin didn't notice just how large her chest was. Now that he took a closer look, wow, at least 30-60. Were the Blood Tribe nourished this well? Could it be that sucking more blood could enhance breasts? And Lin had seen so many Blood Tribe women, but none of them were flat-chested. The Blood Tribe woman seemed to have noticed in Lin's gaze, and a blush appeared on her face as she fidgeted a little. "That kind of thing is possible, but it's my first time, so I'll have to pay a little more blood." And Lin almost threw up a mouthful of blood upon hearing this. Since when had his blood become a bargaining chip? No, more importantly, am I such a shallow person? And Lin coughed lightly before speaking with a serious expression. "Don't overthink things. I didn't ask you to come to the Black Brick because I approved of you. I just wanted to have a good talk with you." Having a return to Void Stage mighty figure tailing him was a very big threat. Who knew if the woman's ability to attack Lin would suddenly disappear? If the Blood Tribe woman recovered from her injuries and decided to kill him, then Lin wouldn't even have a place to cry. And Lin also had another option, which was to unleash his full power and kill the woman tailing him. However, there was also a downside to doing this. Both sides would really shed all pretense of cordiality, and it would evolve into a true life-and-death battle. The consequences of this might be even more severe. He felt that the Blood Tribe woman's injuries had healed quite a bit, and he might not be able to defeat her. Also, even if the woman couldn't bear to hurt Lin because of the purification earlier, she would still run away. After he escaped, he slowly followed behind, and both sides shed all pretense of cordiality. Wouldn't that make the situation even worse? After hearing Lin's words, the Blood Tribe woman nodded. "All right, speak. What do you want to talk about?" And Lin thought about it and said, "If you want my blood, I can give you some." The vampire woman's eyes lit up upon hearing this. "Good. Tell me your conditions. Establish a slave contract with me. Only then can I feel at ease letting you stay by my side," said Lin with a smile. The Blood Tribe woman's expression faltered, and she seemed to have fallen into an intense struggle. In the end, she lowered her head and shook her head. "No, I can't do that. You're a human, and I'm a Blood Tribe." And Lin massaged his brows and could only compromise in the end. "Then I'll give you a drop of blood. Don't follow me anymore." A drop of blood wasn't much to him. He just didn't want this Blood Tribe woman to push her luck. He didn't have any better ideas, so he could only use a drop of blood to get the woman to piss off. The Blood Tribe woman gripped the corner of her black robe tightly and hesitated for a long while before nodding with difficulty. "All right, I agree." And Lin made a small cut on his fingertip and released a drop of blood for the woman. The Blood Tribe woman eagerly swallowed the drop of blood, and she narrowed her eyes as she relaxed her breathing. And Lin was quite puzzled. Was his blood really that delicious? He thought about it for a while before getting himself another drop of blood and swallowing it. In the end, there was no other taste to it apart from being a little fishy. "If you're done, then get out of here," Lin said impatiently. The Blood Tribe woman looked at Lin longingly and licked her rosy lips as if she wanted to eat more. "Get out of here. Get out of here." And Lin pointed at the sky behind him as he spoke in a determined voice. The Blood Tribe woman's eyes were filled with tears as she looked at Lin with a pitiful expression. "Don't chase me away, please. You promised me." "Why? Are you going back on your word?" And Lin chuckled coldly. "I can't leave you." The Blood Tribe woman's eyes were red as she pursed her lips. Those who didn't know better would think that this was a scene of lovers breaking up. However, the reality was that this woman only liked to drink Lin's blood and refused to leave. And Lin was exasperated. "I've never seen such a shameless person. What's your name? Tell me my name, and I'll leave." The Blood Tribe woman struggled to hold back her tears as she stared at Lin. And Lin snapped, "My name is Enchantment. Enchantment." The Blood Tribe woman murmured to herself, "Pacify the world, as dazzling as the sun," as vast as the sky. What a good name. And Lin's body swayed unsteadily. F*CK. Was that how Enrique interpreted the name? My name is Cassidy, the blood tribe woman said with a smile. We'll meet again, Enrique. And Lin rolled his eyes. Who cared what this woman's name was? Cassidy? Even Dihua Xiao couldn't compare to her shamelessness. A hint of dejection appeared on Cassidy's face at the sight of Lin's impatient expression, but she still forced a smile onto her face before waving goodbye. With great difficulty, the great Buddha finally left. Shui Zhantian pounced toward Lin excitedly as Cassidy flew into the distance. Master, you changed your name? I have to say, you have a very good eye for names. We really are the same kind of people. And Lin chuckled. Who's the same kind of person as you? You're a beast, not a human. Shui Zhantian blinked his large, round eyes in confusion. Is that the point? And Lin explained, I just didn't want to reveal my real name to that blood tribe woman in case she curses me with a mystic technique when she's in a bad mood. I really don't appreciate your taste in names. He pulled out the blood soul jade coffin and used his divine inspection technique to appraise it as he spoke. Blood soul jade coffin, intermediate rank immortal tool, has the ability to prevent the death of a person on the brink of death, preserve the physical body, condense the consciousness, and prevent the consciousness from dissipating. It also has the ability to absorb the surrounding life force to repair the user's injuries. A satisfied smile appeared on Lin's face. Just this immortal tool alone was worth it for him. No, this was a massive profit. He continued to refine Cassidy's storage ring while using his divine sense to inspect the contents within. His expression then faltered slightly before an expression of undisguised ecstasy appeared on his face. 3 words, you've made a killing. Just as he had guessed, Cassidy had battled another mighty figure in the past. Not only that, but Cassidy had even killed that mighty figure. The evidence was the items within the storage ring, many of which originated from different regions. There were flowing light shells, divine sea rods, illusionary pearls, all types of marine products, as well as water-type spirit pills. And Lin appraised all of the items and discovered that the mighty figure was most likely an ancient monster from the West Sea. He tallied up all of the items within Cassidy's storage ring. There were a total of 162 vital stones, 15 spirit tools, 41 spirit pills, 25 spirit fruits, and a bunch of marine products, including food, tools, and all types of tool refinement materials. Even though there weren't any extra immortal tools, there were 4 immortal pills. There were 3 8th-grade immortal pills, blood Rakshasa pills, which could heal one's blood essence and injuries at an extremely fast rate. There was also a 6th-grade immortal pill, Jade Sea Water Soul pill, which could enhance the cultivator's affinity for water-type spell techniques to a small extent. Most importantly, there were 5 golden realm essence crystals in the storage ring. And Lin was almost moved to tears at the sight of the 5 golden realm essence crystals. The heavens had not let him down. There were still 95 more golden realm essence crystals to go. Aside from that, there were 12 red realm essence crystals and 31 white realm essence crystals in the storage ring. And Lin checked his storage ring to find that his net worth had already exceeded 20 million spirit stones. He was quite elated to find that he had more than 20 million spirit stones. After all, money was never a burden. He had only just tallied up his storage ring when the space before him suddenly cracked open. And Lin hurriedly came to a screeching halt atop his brick, and his heart leaped into his throat. This spatial power, was it a return to Void Stage mighty figure? An enemy attack? Immediately afterward, a gorgeous woman in a loose black robe emerged from the spatial crack. She intertwined her hands on her lower abdomen, and tears shimmered in her eyes as she stared at Lin with a pitiable expression, as if she had been greatly wronged. She took a deep breath, and as if she had made up her mind, she spoke in a trembling voice. Enrique, I've decided to establish a slave contract with you. And Lin,